Hello, everybody.
Oh my.
Oh no,
We're here.
here we are. Hello, everybody.
Oh
Welcome
no.
to this.
To this. It's beautiful.
This is exactly what it is.
Excellent.
This.
Excellent. Have a great
This.
hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Great
It was
show.
a
We're
great,
gone.
wonderful conversation. Welcome to this. This is our Godzilla versus Kong special. I
Yeah,
did a
yeah.
podcast. I tend to do one of these larger.
Oh my god, Adam's phone.
Loop. Ah, the magic of being live. I love it. That couldn't have gone smoother if I tried.
Adam nailed it. Nailed it. We're doing great.
We're doing great. The greatest live stream.
The finest live stream.
Well, every time a new Godzilla movie comes out, new anything Godzilla really, I like doing a sort of big podcast thing.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've done it live.
Okay.
Like with Godzilla King of the Monsters, I had Eric Casey, another friend of ours. I had him on, and he, I did a 3-parter for that. So to clarify, everyone, this stream here will be live for a week, and then it's disappearing. It won't be up anymore. So enjoy it while it's out. But we're going to do everything. Thanks, John. Everything.
Yeah. Woo!
But no, we're gonna be talking literally everything Monsterverse. I think because this, as of now, is the conclusion to the Monsterverse.
Yeah.
There might be more.
There's an interesting upbringing going on with it, but as of right now, this is like
Confirmed. This is the
like-
last. But I'm so this is just an absolutely crazy time, man. I mean,
it's kind of surreal because like it started Godzilla 2014, and like that was like end of high school for me, I believe. Yeah, no, that was in high school 2014, and now we're here, and it's like it's just crazy to think that it's been that long, and that it all feels kind of like yesterday.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can absolutely agree with that. I just want to make sure people know that you're Lucas, I guess.
Oh, hi everyone, and me.
You can now go back to the other shot, Jim, if you want. We're fine now. Oh no, we're not fine. Now we're fine.
Okay.
But this is going so good. But no, Godzilla 2014 was like the big thing in high school. People still will comment on Godzilla groups and such.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, hey, didn't you guys used to do like that big podcast speculating what Godzilla 2014 would be about?" And that was a big thing. It was called World War G. And of course, we were wrong in just about every way.
Well, Adam, if it's any consolation, I'm gonna have to own up to me being wrong about some things that I thought for certain was gonna happen in Godzilla vs. Kong.
Absolutely.
No, because there was a previous podcast where we talked about it.
There were
I mean,
there were several.
stakes.
Yeah.
I was like,
there were several things where you and I got wrong. There are several things that we got absolutely right. But no, it's a lot of fun. But anyways, those World War Gs are why I don't like doing speculation videos anymore.
Yeah.
And there's another reason why I didn't like doing World War G, or why I look back on that show with embarrassment. One is because I was a member of a different group, and stuff like that. It was a much different time, much more immature, even though I still don't consider myself very mature. But you can just tell in the flow and everything like that just how much we've grown since then. But also, I was not over the post-orgasm that was seeing Godzilla on the big screen.
True.
So like I thought everything was perfect and everything was good. And as time has gone on, that has since changed.
Yeah, and to me, I think that's really important. I think that shows not only your growth as someone who's consuming a movie, but just your overall growth of enjoying. I mean, I think I'm saying the same thing. You know what I'm getting at, though.
No. You're absolutely right. And for people who, I've seen a lot of people, especially people rage on like certain critics. I've seen a lot of people in the Godzilla community specifically go after my personal favorite film historian, David Callett, because he's flip-flopped on a few movies. But I've noticed he's flip-flopped. He said his biggest flip-flop was in his book. I believe it's called A Critical History of the Godzilla series. don't quote me on that. I'm really sorry if I got that one wrong. But he said these movies need to be treated like Akira Kurosawa films, and they should only be subtitled. Dubs are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
He has since done a complete 180-degree turn because he had kids.
That's...
And when he had kids, he was like, I can't show them these subtitled. I have to show them the dubs. And he grew an entire new appreciation for the dubs, as I have, too.
You know what's actually, it's in the same vein of that is, like, you know, like, you brought me on multiple times, like, I'm an anime person. Like, I watch anime, and I prefer subs for anime. I prefer hearing the Japanese
I prefer subs in my films as well, if they're foreign language,
But, like, I understand totally, like the preference. I get it. Of course, and there are some shows that it's like, I either started dubbed and I still prefer dubbed, or like somewhere it's like
there's a few Godzilla films that I prefer the dub to the original language.
Really?
Yeah. Godzilla 2000, I prefer the dub. I just think the American version's better than the Japanese version. Japanese version kind of feels like a rough cut. Mothra versus Godzilla is kind of debatable.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really excellent dub. But the one that really takes the cake for having just a really phenomenal dub, Godzilla versus Monster Zero.
Really?
Yeah. I thought the dub on that gave the film a ridiculous amount of life, while the Japanese version just kind of feels more like a standard Japanese sci-fi flick.
Yeah.
The Glenn dub of that film was phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
I definitely need to go back and like experience some of these films again, because ever since like I really kind of opened my eye about like getting like observing movies more than just like casually watching them,
right?
Kind of like understanding them more. I've definitely flopped more so to, if I'm watching a Godzilla movie, I'm like, oh, I would prefer to watch the subtitle, like the Japanese one. I definitely should go back and watch them.
Yeah, that's just it. I've done a lot of videos actually praising some of the changes and the editorial differences between the Japanese versions and their English cuts and stuff like that. I've defended I've defended many of the U.S. cuts, and it kind of makes me sad that they didn't get on the Criterion stuff. But Toho has an iron fist.
Yeah.
And that's their version.
And the one thing I do want to just really briefly add on to this too is that for me with like dubs versus a subtitle thing is that to me the most important thing is that the original message of the film or is there.
Yes.
And you're not changing things for the sake of like making like oh, this is be a joke that only the American audience will get. Like anime does that really bad. There is anime that does that really bad, and it turns me off so hard when it happens as I've gotten older. But that to me, so long as the original vision is there, I think that's what's most important.
Well, that's why I love Godzilla King, the original, the one with Raymond Burr. I love the original Godzilla King of the Monsters so much.
I've been hard on that
one. Is because that, you know, the one where they inserted Raymond Burr into it. It takes a lot out of Ishiro Honda's movie. But not only did that, were the people who made it loved the original movie. I mean, Raymond Burr kept a film copy of the original cut of Godzilla. And right up till his dying days, he defended that movie and defended Godzilla as being something great. And on top of that, all the people who worked on it were like, this is good. We can reach this to a wider audience. And that's what they did. It wasn't a sheer, I know that this is going to be hard to handle for a lot of fans, but the Ishiro Honda's epic, you know, the original Godzilla, was not the movie that made Godzilla an icon. It was the Americanized version, Godzilla King of the Monsters. That was the one that got
You have a really good point on that, because like you think about the name King of the Monsters.
Yeah,
and
it did not come from Japan. It came from the United States. And it not only was Godzilla King of the Monsters a huge hit, it only cost $200,000 to acquire it and to shoot Raymond Burr, and it made like $3 million back opening weekend, which was huge. But also that version could then be dubbed into many different languages, and it was big over in Europe, big in other countries in Asia, and that was the version that got circulated, not the Japanese one.
Okay.
So that was really interesting. But the reason why I bring that up, before we caught up on that huge tangent, was because some people might be surprised because I've been pretty anti-Monsterverse as a whole. I wouldn't say anti, but my opinions on several things have shifted since rewatching all of these.
Yeah, I definitely, I am 100% in the same camp with you, because I definitely think there are podcasts where I was kind of pretty hard on some of them.
Right.
And, you know, upon like from then to now, I definitely have changed tune a little bit with them. There's definitely like, you'll probably know some of my takes with some of them in there, but I definitely think it's important, like, to know that people can grow and change their tastes. You can't. Yeah. You're not locked down to one thing. Like you can just change. It's beautiful. It's a part of life. It's a part of living. You can just change how you feel about something.
You can
It
watch
happens.
a movie that you watch as a kid, and as you're an adult, you can hate it, or vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
it happens. So, but I guess let's segue into what we were going to talk about first, which is sorry, I wanted to do that.
No worries.
Let's talk about our basic, overall thoughts of the Monsterverse.
Monsterverse overall? Okay.
Yeah. Why don't you go first, Lucas, since you're the guest?
Okay, so Monsterverse to me is I think it was a cool idea. I think it was a cool idea that definitely, now I won't lie, it definitely was piggybacking off like cinematic universe like Marvel and all that. You can't really argue that.
And the end credit scene as well.
It piggybacks off stuff like that, which obviously, it's the big trend when that was getting big.
Yeah.
And to me, with cinematic universe movies in general, I have a kind of staunch statement on a movie needs to stand on its own.
Me too.
It needs to be an enjoyable movie. Because, like, again, I don't hate the Marvel movies. I don't. There are Marvel movies I really like, and there's some I don't like. To me, it's just I want them to stand on their own as a solid piece.
Right.
That's to me. So with Monsterverse, I think Monsterverse is tonally a mess at times.
Oh, really?
But all right, Adam. I'm trying to get all my points out here. But
it's a mess, you say.
it's a little bit of a mess. It is. But I appreciate them trying it solely because, and I mean, I'm saying this, but then I realized something I wanted to bring up at some point during the stream that is kind of the opposite.
Okay.
But
no, there's going to be plenty of that in this. There is going to be. I'll say it right now. There is going to be a lot of contradictory opinions.
Yeah. But I will mention that it was nice to see people besides me be like, "Yo, are you looking forward to this new Godzilla movie, this new Kong movie?" I'm like, even if necessarily I didn't like it in the end, it's like, you know what? Yeah. I'm glad to see people happy about this besides me.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, exactly. So, if you're done about your overall opinions of the Monsterverse,
I guess the one other thing I will say is that, truthfully, and when we kind of go more nitty-gritty into it, each movie individually, I don't really hate any of these movies. I don't really dislike any of these movies. I don't think they're the strongest movies, minus one of them, which I'm sure you can assume which one I might be hinting at, but I still enjoy them. I've had a good time watching them. I wasn't like sitting in my seat waiting for this to be over, checking the phone constantly. I was still enjoying these movies, and maybe that's because
me too.
Maybe it's because I'm biased. I like all this, so it's like,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you. I think that's roughly my opinion of the Monsterverse as well.
Okay.
I think it was a flame that burned hot and then I'm sorry. Actually, a better analogy is a train that was heading straight for no tracks. The tracks were coming to an end, and it went off of them.
Yeah.
And the thing that I will say as of right now, I know that there have been developments, but I'll be honest, I hope there are no more Monsterverse movies.
Adam, I am 100% with you. Mainly because I want to see, because it's been, as these movies have been coming out, there's been word of like Toho is like, oh, we want to make our own.
Toho is, I'll confirm that. Toho is dying.
Yeah.
To make a new Godzilla
I really
series,
would like
live action Godzilla series.
really want to see that, because as much as I've had fun with these Monsterverse movies, I want to see Toho take back their monster and see what new things they'll do with their monster. Like, it's...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want them to introduce new monsters.
Oh, yeah,
I want them to do... Toho, Shin Godzilla. All I can say is... suddenly, like, everyone was all hyped about 2014, and then Shin Godzilla comes out and just reminds everybody that the Japanese do it best.
Yeah, that was... And it helped because Anno was directing it.
Anno is a genius. I mean, he was a co-director, granted, but that was Anno's movie.
I'm sorry, I for some reason always think he directed it.
Yeah, well, he directed basically most of the dramatic stuff.
Yeah.
If anything required visual effects, it was Shinji Higuchi.
Okay, my mistake.
But the movie just oozes Hideaki Anno.
Yeah.
Because he also was the main writer on the script.
Yeah.
He was the writer on the script, and he edited it.
Yeah, the editing, especially from the editing, is like you can tell
that movie is edited within an inch of its life. Yeah, it's great. But no, I would agree with you that the Monsterverse, if I hope that they don't make more, because despite me saying that it went off the rails, I'm not necessarily meaning that in a bad way.
No, yeah, I don't think you will.
And I hope that we talk about this a little bit later. But it would be 4 solid movies.
Yeah.
4 solid movies that we can sit down, digest, and say, that was fun. And if they just go off the rails, or if they just say, let's just make new ones, I'm almost saying, like, at this point, because the human characters just have been thrown out in general, make a Walking with Dinosaurs style documentary with the kaiju in this universe.
Yeah, because I kind of want to bring up my point then, if that's fine, because it's something that has been bothering me.
Because this is a problem, in my humble opinion, with all of the Monsterverse movies.
Yeah.
Is relatively the human story.
No, I do agree with you.
There's exceptions here and there.
Yeah.
But all of them, I think, the weakest part of them are the human stuff. And I know a lot of people say that it's a Godzilla movie. The human characters usually are the weakest point.
Adam, it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because, look, I as I mentioned before, I've been really happy that people have been general public has really been enjoying Godzilla and Kong, and knowing like monsters that might be obscure to them, like Rodan or something. I know it's not to us. Rodan's like every other day.
Rodan's like, yeah.
It's like every other day. But it's like, there are people who don't really know Rodan, and that's just kind of the truth.
Right.
But with that being said, with that nice thing being said, I need to really state something. Is I am getting really tired. I mean, this is just social media is just terrible in general. But I see comments of people saying, and it's like, people don't watch these movies for the humans. They watch these to watch monsters fight. And to that I say, you do not speak for me. You do not speak for me, all right, dude? Like, I know it annoys me. It really does, because I'm like, that's not true in the slightest.
It does annoy me a bit, because usually I'll admit these Godzilla movies, they have good characters. They're not usually the most sophisticated characters, but they are fun characters.
Yeah.
And they are, if they're not overly complicated characters, there's usually an interesting plot to go with it. My favorite example of this is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla in 1974, because like the human characters in that are like one-dimensional characters. But there's like a mystery going on. There's like secret agents involved.
I also just I love that movie.
Like, it's such a fun movie.
It's such a fun movie. One was this is one I rewatched recently, as in like within the past few years. Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster.
That is such a fun movie.
That movie is so fun.
I don't care what anyone says. I think that Jun Fukuda, the director of that film, him and writer Shinichi Sekizawa, who I praise to no end, writer Shinichi Sekizawa, he was the one basically pulling the cart for Godzilla.
Yeah.
He really was.
Yeah.
Because what he did was he basically created what made these movies so special in the first place, because he got bored with the standard monster formula. The standard monster formula is monster shows up and men have to solve it. People solve the monster problem. He said, I'm bored with that. And he came up with something that was extremely simple and now seems so mundane because of him.
Yeah.
And he did this. What he did was he said, I want to interconnect the monster action with the humans. And so his formula became people have people problems and monsters resolve it. And it started with Mothra, the original Mothra. If you look at who's the villain of that, let's look at Godzilla, the original Godzilla. Who's the villain of the original Godzilla? It's Godzilla. Yeah, he's the problem. We've got to solve it.
Movie,
in fact, that's one of the things that I actually really like about the original Godzilla and Godzilla 2014, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no antagonist in it other than the scenario.
Yeah.
The scenario is the antagonist. There's no people who are the antagonists. And it's always the scientists are the ones that are there trying to solve this problem. Shin Godzilla did that formula.
Yeah.
Godzilla 2014 has that formula. Godzilla 98 even has that formula. The Mothra, the Mothra model that came after Mothra is where Godzilla exploded. I know it didn't start
No,
with the
yeah, I
Godzilla
know, yeah,
movie, but
yeah.
this is where the Japanese kaiju genre came into be, was with Mothra. Mothra, in my opinion, I agree with David Khaled on this, is the most important giant monster movie ever made. Not Godzilla, because it twisted the genre and turned it. It created the winning formula.
Yeah, yeah.
And his movies often didn't have the scientists in it, didn't have all that. His films often had the cartoonist, the news reporter, the in Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, the robber.
Yeah, yeah.
He would have robbers with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
That's the Kira Takarada's character. And they would be everyday people getting thrown into a situation completely out of their control and doing what's right, not because they have to, like scientists or government officials, but because it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made a lot of those movies so wonderful and a bit pure in many ways. Yeah. And I just the people, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I went on a complete tangent.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, because we're talking about the monster versus human element of these movies. That's what we're talking about. And I was talking about how people are only watching these movies for giant monsters fights, and I don't think that's true.
Martin brings up something. He says, I guess you haven't heard the news of the next Monsterverse entry in development with working title Son of Kong.
I have heard of it.
I didn't believe that was confirmed.
It seemed like it was confirmed, but I feel like it's still really, really early.
I hope they don't do any more Godzilla. I'm like, if you really
if they could do Kong, because
it's quite clear Kong is the heart of the Monsterverse, not Godzilla.
Yeah. Which is weird considering Godzilla kicked it off.
Yeah, Godzilla kicked it off.
Yeah.
It is weird. But so let's get into, before we get into the individual movies, let's rank them. Let's rank the four. We'll start best to worst.
Okay.
What's your how would you arrange your four?
All right. So you want me to just go through? Are we gonna go back and forth, or you want me to just go through?
Just list your four.
Okay, chuck on it. So for best, and I don't think this is really a surprise to anyone, is 2014. I think that is the best of these movies because it was honestly made as just a standalone movie. Mm-hmm. It was made to just be a standalone movie. There was no plans for a Monsterverse, and yeah, it has its faults and it has some really odd decisions and killing Bryan Cranston and and all the things people have said.
It's not its fault.
All things people said, but I still think what that movie does really well, it does really, really well. It's this. I will never forget because I saw this movie twice in theaters and both times were in IMAX. I will never forget the airport scene, how quiet the theater gets when he steps down there. I will never forget that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And
me neither.
Yeah, to me, 2014, even though it has its faults, I think it's still the strongest of these movies. Now, for number two, I don't think we're talking more so from our personal feelings, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I kind of like King of the Monsters as my number two.
It's fine.
King of the Monsters is my number two. I think it has not great human characters. I don't think the human, especially the mom in that movie, which people have ripped on all the time, especially Rick Stanton. I don't like those characters, but I really, really enjoy how the monsters were portrayed in this film. I enjoyed a lot of the shots in this movie. I liked the soundtrack of this movie a lot, and when this movie is really cool, it's really cool. And it had cool character moments too with wow, why am I blanking on his name?
Kyle Chandler?
No, with this is embarrassing. the nuke scene when Serizawa. I legitimately really like that scene. I think that's a great scene, and I think that movie also shows that kind of shift where Godzilla, because that was Godzilla's character movie. That was his 2014 was introducing him. This was getting into him more as a character. And I know you've said before you don't really necessarily feel that, and I get where you're coming from with that, but I still feel like this movie as a whole kind of shifted that and we're talking Godzilla as a character. He's a character. Mm-hmm. His dynamic of his world thinking that hey, these people actually helped me, and I liked the new designs of King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. I think they're really. I liked the I like the new monsters introduced too. I thought they were all really cool.
I did too.
Especially Behemoth. I love Behemoth.
Yes. Behemoth. You're
Behemoth,
right.
Behemoth
Absolutely.
forever. But I don't know that maybe it's because that movie. It's like that period it was coming out was a nice period too.
I'm gonna pause you for 1 second
What's
just
up?
to address some of the
What's up?
comments. Andrew, you're asking about Junkie XL's score for Godzilla vs. Kong. We will get to it. Right
Okay.
now, we're building up to Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, don't worry, guys.
Yeah, we will be getting to it. Right now, we're just kind of going over the Monsterverse as a whole right now, and then we'll get into Godzilla vs. Kong, because Godzilla vs. Kong I want to be the crux of this video.
Yeah.
So this is more of like an intro building up to it.
Yeah,
Anyways,
so yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it's fine. I was basically done with King of the Monsters. Like it's just that movie it totally is faulty and nitty and like not that great at times. But I really legitimately I was kind of confused how much of a negative response it got at times. I was like, I don't know, I thought visually it looked pretty good and like the story was kind of whatever. I'll definitely say that. Like I think the Orca is one of the dumbest plot developments for any of these movies ever. But literal plot device, I'm sorry, that's the term.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from that, my number 3 is going to be Kong Skull Island because that movie is fun. The humans are pretty good in that movie. And I think that was a really solid intro to Kong, to the Kong they're setting up. It's definitely a different character, but for what they're setting up with that movie, I think they did a pretty good job with it. I think that's also one of the trying to think of the best way to phrase this. It's one of the more like it definitely knows what it is kind of movies, but it's not like annoying about it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It definitely knows what it is, and I think I do appreciate it from that. There's some things that I was like kind of confused about, like a lot of like I don't know I don't know how much of a fan I am for like using like licensed music for these movies. I think it works better with Kong.
It does.
It definitely works better with Kong,
I
but like
understand.
yeah,
It does. It totally
I think that kind of works better with that character, but
that's something that I would love to actually mention really quickly is I think we may not, as Americans, the American filmmakers making it right now, we may not completely understand Godzilla, but boy, do we understand King Kong.
Yeah, definitely.
The Monsterverse nailed Kong.
Yeah, I think
absolutely nailed Kong.
And then by process of elimination, and this is like again, like when we watched it initially together, I enjoyed the movie.
We had a blast.
We had a great time watching
Guys,
it, but
we had a fucking Jim is in the room with us. He's the one that's kind of mixing this. We had a blast.
Yeah, we had a great time watching it, but I do have to. Yep, there's our Jim. Yeah. I do have to be honest with myself, and because if I wouldn't be, that'd be go against a lot of things I've said. Where I think this is definitely the weakest of all of them. It's definitely the weakest of all of them, and clearly, and I know you could say it had the whole COVID with everything, that definitely affected it. But at the same time, I don't know, man. There's some things about this movie that are like really, really jank at times. That being said, I as I mentioned before, my footnote to this is that I don't really hate any of these movies, but I definitely think some of them aren't strong movies. Like,
let's try to avoid spoilers with this bit.
Of course.
For at least Godzilla vs. Kong. The other movies I don't really care about because they've been out long enough.
Yeah.
But at least for Godzilla vs. Kong.
No, I mean I was basically finished on a point there anyway. Yeah. So it's like so I'll pass the baton to you.
Oh, to me.
To you.
To me.
To you.
To you. To you. To me.
No, I'm taking it back. So I want to Jim.
Oh, fuck off. Like the camera knocks over. Everything just completely falls apart. It's the utter end of the world. Yeah, I know the thing. John, I just want to address, I knew you'd like the score, or to at least appreciate the score for Godzilla vs. Kong. I knew you would do this. Yeah, it was tough to top Bear McCreary's score, and I don't think he could have.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that a little bit. To me, my top 4, in order of my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is without a shadow of a doubt. And you know how I've kind of ragged on this movie quite a bit? Here's my original list, without going into many details.
Mm-hmm.
My original list was going to be Godzilla 2014, King of the Monsters, and this is going best to worst.
Yeah,
King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, Kong Skull Island.
Really?
Yes.
I think I know where you're going with this, though.
That was my original list.
Okay.
Because everybody knows, at least who are fans of mine, who have been a fan of mine for a while, I did a 3-hour rant about how much I hated Kong Skull Island.
I've heard the legend.
The legend of
the
my
legend
rant.
Of your 3 hour.
And I haven't taken that video down. It's there. And to me, this is.
And I think that's good. I think you.
It's there. It's not my opinion anymore, but it's still there.
But we don't know what your top is yet.
My top 4 now would be Godzilla 2014, still king, by far.
Dave, you actually leave me. I thought you were gonna knock it down for a second. Really,
No.
I really thought you were.
No, Godzilla 2014 is still my favorite. I having rewatched all of these again in prep for a reviewing of Godzilla vs. Kong. 2014, I loved. In fact, like, for a while there, it was just going down and down and down. This viewing, it went up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was completely on board with it. I love how all the characters are like, no, we're trying to do the best we can with the scenario, and you can feel the love and attention behind it. I love Gareth Edwards' direction. I love how that film is shot.
Yeah.
That is my favorite shot movie out of all of these films. I love how literally every shot of these monsters is from some person's point of view, where it's down low, it's heavy. It definitely has the best sound design, in my humble opinion, out of all of them. I think it has my favorite soundtrack. I love Alexander Desplat's rapid, heart-pounding score to it. I love his use of, like, trumpets and stuff like that as an homage to some of the older sci-fi movies in general. I just thought it was a wonderful movie. I gave a crap. I do agree. Killing Bryan Cranston off was a mistake. All those faults are in the movie.
Yeah.
I also would have had Aaron Taylor Johnson disarm the bomb. I wouldn't have had the bomb explode at the end of the film. I would have had him disarm it. But I love the themes in the film.
Yeah.
I love Admiral Stenz. I adore that man. Like he doesn't really have any of a character, but I love how he walks in a room, you know he's in charge.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I love Godzilla 2014 is my kind of movie. It really is my kind of movie in terms of Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least in a more like blockbuster kind of Godzilla, that would be my kind of movie. Next would be Kong Skull Island.
All right.
Kong Skull Island went from being my least favorite by far to my second favorite. Watching that movie again, I don't know what the fuck happened, but like a switch flipped in my head.
Yeah.
And I was on board. I loved Sam Jackson. John C. Reilly I always liked.
I love John C. Reilly even before I knew, because I don't think I knew from the trailer, but like when I found that out, I'm like, I just like John C. Reilly.
I was so scared he was going to be nothing but the comic relief in that movie.
I thought he was a great character.
And he is the comic relief of the movie, but he plays it in such a way that you kind of forget he's the comic relief of the movie.
Yeah, and even his character is like, he's a solid character in the movie.
Yeah, he's a solid character, and I love his ending.
Yeah, oh my god,
I love his fan service ending and stuff like that, and I love how it doesn't even say. I love how he has a moment where he goes like, I know they're probably moved on, my wife and child. I want them to move on.
Yeah,
I just want to see them.
Yeah, that's a great.
And I love that stuff. And John C. Reilly steals the show. Mm-hmm. Sam Jackson is so good. I genuinely love his character.
I love his character.
I genuinely love his character, and I love the Vietnam subtext in that film.
Yeah,
I absolutely love the Vietnam subtext. This is a theme that I play with in the Godzilla saga that I wrote. Our soldiers who have like fought and died. They've seen their friends fight and die for what? Yeah, and that was Vietnam.
Yeah.
And that's Sam Jackson's entire play. He's like, I've got to find something to make it matter. And it consumes him. He becomes Captain Ahab, essentially. And Kong is his white whale. Yeah. And I absolutely love that. John.
I mean, there's a great shot too, where it's like it's the stare down between Kong and him.
I love that so much.
Awesome.
And I just fell in love with the movie. The soundtrack isn't as good as G2014. In fact, it's very forgettable. But I love that this film was not an 80s homage fest or like synthwave and all that stuff that's so popular now. I loved how the movie was very retro 70s because it took place in the 70s. Yeah. I loved the random cannibal Holocaust reference in that film.
Oh, Adam. We've had a conversation before about that movie, and you know I enjoyed that reference too.
Oh, my. we saw that in theaters. First time I saw that in theaters, I'm like, is that a Cannibal Holocaust reference? Oh my god!
You're talking the spider
Yeah.
like yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Making
absolutely.
I just want to clarify.
I love Cannibal. I think that's such a good movie.
Yeah.
But it's horrible as it is.
Horrible. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
oh my god,
It's,
not
it's
a fun watch,
It's
but
a good movie.
also kind of a fun watch. It's weird.
I agree with Andrew. No movie depicted scale as good as Edwards by far. I think scale is just his deal. He did it in Rogue One. He did it in his first movie, Monsters.
I mentioned it to you.
Really good
I mentioned to you where I feel like that's Gareth Edwards' strength. He does scale really. He does scale and spectacle really.
I really wish, and you know what? I think that's what set Godzilla 2014 above literally all the other ones. Is I think it was Gareth Edwards. I don't think it was the writing by far.
I think that's a really good way to look at it. Actually,
I think it was his. Seriously, I think it was his creative vision behind the director's chair that said, "We're going to shoot it this way. We're going to have this character happen here. The helicopter's going to come down here, and it's going to transition into this scene."
Yeah.
And I think it was his direction that made it stand out above all the others. And I think out of all of them, I take that back. Godzilla vs. Kong, I can tell, is an Adam Wingard film because of the neon lights.
That's also true.
But I think out of all of them, I think 2014 has the most style out of all of them in terms of a directorial stamp.
I can see where you're coming from.
The other ones kind of feel more like anyone could have directed this, especially Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I will get to that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I really like.
I'm glad, and also like everyone. This is character development. This is character development through and through. Like it's, and that's also really though. Like I'm not even joking when I say that though, because in a sense, it's a good feeling to see. It's like maybe you've disliked something for so long, and then coming back, and I'm like, you know what? That's I think that's a good thing for people. Like I've got like games that I don't like that I like. I'm like, oh, this game sucks, and like I went back to it, or like I bandwagoned a popular game, and I was like, oh, this game's popular. I don't like it.
Yes.
So then I went back. I'm like, all right, this game's kind of fun. This game's not bad. The only
with Attack on Titan. I know you don't like Attack on Titan, and a lot of people
but that's actually
I like it.
Adam, that is a great example because yes, I really wasn't big on Attack on Titan. I used to be very like, look at this popular Attack.
Yeah.
I don't have that anymore. I think that I've removed that thought from my brain. I don't think like that anymore. I think that's a terrible way to think. There's only one exception to that rule in my life, and it's the most recent Pokemon game that came out. I will hate that game until the day I fucking
Okay.
That game is fucking garbage.
Well,
back to Godzilla. Back to Monsterverse. That's way more interesting than that fucking game.
One last thing I want to say actually about Kong Skull Island. There are still things that I would change. I think John Goodman dies too soon in that movie. Though granted, I think it's a genuine huge flaw with the script because his character's done, and that's why they kill him off.
Yeah.
Like he's on the island. Kong's proved. All right, now what's he gonna do? But the number one thing that irks me in that movie is the scene where that guy bravely like tries to blow himself up, and then he just gets hit by the skull crawler, and I'm just like, that was literally my reaction. I was like,
you know what? I understand where you're coming from with that. I kind of had a feeling you would not like that scene.
No, because to me, what I would have done.
Okay.
If I were handed this which this is probably going to be a recurring thing, is what I would have done.
But I think that's fine.
But if I would have done it, I would have had him, because he had all the grenades and shit, and not do that. Is during the Kong battle, I would have him like up on the hills, and every once in a while he'd see an opportunity and chuck it, and then the Skullcrawler would come towards him. But because of his experience in Vietnam, he learned from his enemy how to get in and out of places really quickly.
Yeah.
So by the time the Skullcrawler reached him, he's suddenly gone. He's chucking a grenade from somewhere else now. And I would have had that all interconnect with Kong fighting, because they were doing actually a lot of that already. So I was like, just take it one step further, and I would have liked it a lot more. But regardless, still, I really enjoyed the fact. I was genuinely happy.
That's great.
I was like, I really enjoyed this. This is good. Number 3 is Godzilla King of the Monsters. Not a fan of this movie.
I understand.
In my opinion, the last 2 movies I will call bad movies. Godzilla King of the Monsters is textbook. Every time I've watched it, I've liked it less. I think I've evened out finally. But if you listen to my podcast with Eric Casey, I was still pretty harsh on it. But I still said I really liked it. I can't say that now. I cannot say it. I mean, I like Bear McCreary's score, but my issue with Bear McCreary's score, and why it's not my favorite of his, or of the Monsterverse scores.
Hey, that's our model.
Hi, GC.
What's up,
Hi,
bottles? You're my favorite degenerate too.
Yeah. But his score, the only thing I remember from his score is him reusing Ifukube music.
Mm.
And I'm like, then I like Ifukube. But it's not just that. I have an issue with how the monster scenes are shot. The film really doesn't feel heavy. Because there's scenes where the characters are running around, especially in the Boston sequence, where our characters are running around trying to find the orca and find Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
And like Ghidorah's feet are stepping down and they're just kind of like going, oh.
Well, to me, I feel like the heavy, and you are right. You are correct.
The scene on the ice is much better
I
at
love
depicting
that.
the heavy.
See,
I love that scene.
That scene, I'm going to argue with you, mainly because, one, I think that scene's really good.
No, I agree with you. I love that scene in that movie.
I got, unfortunately, a little emotional when I saw that in theaters. This was the first time we've seen...
Oh, I got a raging hard on. I got a fucking raging hard on when I saw King Ghidorah come out of the ice and Godzilla comes up and starts fighting.
I made it more of a sentimental thing. Like, this is the first time we've seen Godzilla and Ghidorah on the screen in however long.
Okay, the scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters where I got that was when Mothra came out for the first time. No. When she came out of her cocoon.
Yeah.
That was the moment I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm a Godzilla fan right now.
Yeah.
However, where the movie completely falls the fuck apart is that its pacing is all over the place. There are parts in the film that it races right through, and then it lingers on some scenes, and I'm like, why are you lingering on this? Right from the get-go, I had an issue with, they're doing the orca thing with Mothra, and suddenly, like, the containment field fails.
Yeah.
Okay, and everyone's like, why is it failing? And they're trying to figure it out. All in the corner, you hear this guy immediately go, I think somebody's doing this. And then he just keep going, like, there's no breath in there. Yeah. That should be a reveal.
Yeah.
That should be, like, while she's talking with Mothra and everything's working, then he should be like, oh my god, I think somebody's doing this. Explosion.
Yeah.
Then they come in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that. The very contrived human plot. No. I hate the fact, I fucking detest the fact that they try to make you sympathize with Emma, the mother.
Yeah.
She is the worst human being to ever live.
That was not a great character.
I hate the fact. Yes, I would agree with you, Oliver. That's Oliver about Godzilla versus Kong. But right now we're talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters because fuck my life. But Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters, the fact that they tried to redeem her for a bit when she comes back with her husband and everything like that, I'm like, no. Here's what I would have done. I would have doubled down and I would have made her like Dr. Mifune from Terror Mechagodzilla. Dr. Mifune from Terror Mechagodzilla is a great way where you kind of sympathize with this horrible human being.
Yeah.
Because he's been fucked over. And you kind of feel his anger. Right? And he's constantly battling with this idea because the more he gets involved with the aliens in Terror of Mechagodzilla, the more he's losing his daughter. His daughter is becoming more and more and more and more machine. And you see the plight in his eyes. But he says a line that I just love, and he says, the die has been cast, it's too late. And he doubles down.
Yeah.
And he sticks with the aliens.
Yeah, I think that could.
And I really love the fact that he gets his comeuppance. He gets brutally shot by the Interpol agents.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's his ending. And I'm like, that's a fitting ending for his character. And I think his character is rather tragic because of that. That's what I would have done with Emma, the mother.
I think that's a good idea in general.
And particularly, I would have had Kyle Chandler have to shoot her.
Really?
I would have had Kyle Chandler be the one to have to shoot her. Now, I have another issue with Kyle Chandler being too much of an action hero too quickly.
Yeah.
I would have made him more like Raymond Burr, where it's kind of like he's spouting, specifically Raymond Burr from Godzilla 1985. Al Pacino agrees. But I would have.
I'm glad it was on the wide.
Yeah. Oh, was it on the wide?
It was on the wide.
Oh, that's great. This is why I love doing live shit and stuff like that happens. It's funny. But I would have had him at the beginning more like a Raymond Burr character, where he's kind of just sitting there like, no, Godzilla is doing this, because My favorite scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters is by far the intimidation display that Godzilla does.
Oh yeah,
underwater.
that seems great.
That scene was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome, and it nailed Godzilla.
I also think it was a good it was like a good pseudo jump scare for a movie you wouldn't expect a jump scare in.
Yeah,
and I think it totally worked for that scene.
The only line that I think ruins it is that character that's
fucking Rick.
Yeah,
fucking Rick Stanton.
His character says, "Well, yeah, let's invite him in for a beer."
I think that actor is.
If he just said, "Are you out of your mind?"
Yeah,
it would have sold it, but instead he has that.
He has to have haha funny. I can't stand that character. That's the one thing. It's like it's funny that I rank that movie so high, but I can't stand that character, and I can't stand Emma.
Right.
Both those characters I cannot tolerate. But
Andrew, you say a lot of people praise the visuals of King of the Monsters, but in my opinion, a lot of it is super muddled, especially with Ghidorah. Looked gray and the whole time because of the storm and rain effects. I agree with you. I kind of liked it with Ghidorah, but in terms of the battle scenes, I did not like it.
And I do see where Andrew's coming from.
Well, the scene where like the Argo is flying forward, which I fucking hate the Argo, but where the Argo's flying forward and into the storm when Rodan's giving chase, and all of a sudden you see a flash and you see Ghidorah right in front of it. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. I
agree with you.
I do see what he's saying. The one thing I will say is like I think I like the shot composition of like that. Okay. Too. That's an example of like there's a great shot when I think it is the Arctic fight when Godzilla and
the Arctic fight is amazing.
Godzilla and Ghidorah like stand off against each other. It's that big wide shot of the two of them standing. You see how huge they are. Like I like that stuff. That stuff I really like. But I do see where he's coming from with the muddied comment. I'm thinking I'm like you do have a point with that.
Absolutely. There's a couple of other issues that I have, Rick being the big one, though he didn't annoy me as much in this one. I think it's because I was expecting him to come in.
Can I really quick interject something from my own life in this conversation really quick?
Do it.
My friends from home, they know how much I dislike that character, and they've all doubled down on that fact, and they all apparently fucking love Rick Stanton now.
16 people watching right now.
Woo! 16 people. They love, and they do it purposely to annoy me.
To annoy you?
Yeah. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah. There's only one line he says in the film that I'm on board with, and that's when he's trying to explain the Hollow Earth. And he's going, it's the subterranean, and he's slowly facing. He's like, nobody cares. and I'm like, okay.
You know what? I get to yap it there, Rick.
I thought Serizawa's sacrifice was needless and stupid.
Really?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because they're in this nuclear submarine, and I'm like, I think there's about a bajillion people who know better how to arm this bomb and are literally know the risk of them having to go out there and sacrifice themselves.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that could have been a thing. But besides that,
I don't know,
I understand it because people are like, oh, it's like Spock in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and I'm like, no. In Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, the entire theme of that movie, or one of the many themes in that movie, is thinking outside of the box, thinking three-dimensional. And that's what Spock does. While everyone else is trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to get away from the ship before it explodes? Spock starts thinking outside the box, and he's like, I know a way. And because of that, he's the only one that knows, I got to go here, I got to do this, and he sacrifices himself in the process. So there's a reason that things are happening. While in this one, I was just like, Serizawa needed to die because Ken Watanabe was getting too expensive to hire back.
Yeah, there's that cynical way to look at it like that, and you are more than likely correct about that. I don't know, that scene worked for me.
It is a good scene. I love how, because if there's one character who, in my opinion, is allowed to physically touch Godzilla, it was his character.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Do you know about the anger skeleton?
I never have been able to spot it.
I've never been able to spot it either. To me, it's still an urban legend, but I like to believe it is actually there. I like Anguirus too, but I think it's funny that he's just dead.
I love that. I like this idea that Godzilla and Anguirus, even in this universe, were like best buds. They're like drinking buddies.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I had an issue with, and we're going too long on King of Monsters, and I've got two things left to say. This one's the longer one.
Okay.
I hate Mothra has no character at all, and they try to make it like they have a symbiotic relationship. There needed to be a scene where it's just her and Godzilla.
I agree with you.
There needed to be a scene where she just climbs over his shoulder and then suddenly flies away and sacrifices herself. I'm like, I don't feel the weight of that. And one of the things that I loved, one of the many things I loved about Ghidra, the three-headed monster, is Mothra is sent to try to say, hey, Godzilla and Rodan, stop fighting each other and let's fight King Ghidorah. He's the real enemy here. And Godzilla and Rodan are like, no, fuck you. and literally just keep fighting anyways until Mothra goes, all right, then I'm going to fight him on my own. And I'm not exaggerating. That's what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
And suddenly they see this little moth thing get blasted by King Ghidorah, wrecked by King Ghidorah. And Godzilla and Rodan take pity on her and are like, oh, fuck me. Fuck me. Okay.
Yeah.
And they team up and they fight the bad guy. I'm like, I was expecting that in this movie. And not because I wanted it to be like Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, because I'm like, that's good character shit.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
And also, like the scene where Rodan bows to King Ghidorah, I hate it because it's only on the monitor in the background. And I'm like, that needed to be a big moment of Rodan bowing to King Ghidorah, because then it would have added more character to him and more nuance to him when he finally bows to Godzilla.
Oh, can I add one thing really quick to that? This is not a long point. I will mention also I fucking love the final frame of this movie.
I don't.
Really?
I think it's terribly composed.
Oh my, what?
I do. I absolutely hate that shot.
Bro, I do not agree with you at all. I don't agree with you at all on that one, man.
I don't like how it looks. I'm sorry.
Nope.
I like the shot where it's like a circle going around him. The shot before it, I love that shot. But that wide, I'm like, so you mean to tell me that Godzilla just happens to be on the only ground that is on top of everything? I don't like how the movie wastes the oxygen destroyer.
Yeah, that was to me.
Absolutely wastes the oxygen destroyer.
That threw me for a loop. And now no one shuts up about Destroyer being in the Monsterverse now. And like, I love Godzilla vs. Destroyer. That's like one of my favorite Godzilla movies.
Destroyer,
I love that fucking movie. Like both the monster and that movie.
Yeah.
But like,
it's my third favorite Godzilla
You can't rush into Destroyer.
No, you can't.
You can't do that. That's just not how that monster thematically works.
Yeah, exactly. I think they wasted Admiral Stenz quite a bit because, you know what, fuck it, we're talking about this now.
Yeah.
One of the things that drove me absolutely insane about this movie, one of the many things, is how come Monarch suddenly has like all these facilities all over the world? Where did they get the funding from? They're part of the U.S. military, they're part of the U.S. government, but they're not because they're having those hearings all the time.
Yeah.
Why is there this bio-terrorist thing? Where the fuck did that come from? If I were to have made this, I would have taken inspiration from the SCP Foundation.
That's not a bad idea.
I would have made Monarch the SCP Foundation, where their job is to contain and protect particularly contain, these titans, these kaijus, and I would have had Jonah, the Charles Dance character, who actually I love him only because he's Charles Dance and he's an amazing actor. He added nuance to a character who otherwise would have been completely useless. But I would have made him the head of, because in the SCP Foundation, there's also another organization that their objective is not to contain the SCPs, it's to kill them all. Yeah. It is to eradicate them. I would have made that them.
That's actually a really awesome
And I would have been because I'm a huge fan of underground organizations. When the Godzilla saga comes out, you will discover it is chock full of these underground organizations that often butt heads. And I'm obsessed with them. The Dai Li in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Section 31 in Star Trek. Yeah. All these underground organizations I love. Especially the more mystery that there is behind them, the more I love them. But then you just a waste of opportunity. To me, King of the Monsters is waste of opportunity. The movie, because like you see in that scene at the very beginning, where Serizawa and Stenz are in that meeting in the Pentagon, and I'm killing your insides, I know, and I'm really sorry.
It's fine.
But
no, because you are. I don't even necessarily disagree with you, for the record. Like, I don't. And you make really good points. It's just like I don't know. There's something about this one. I was like, maybe it's a bad viewing on my part, where it's like maybe I'm letting too many things slide or something. But
well, I think that movie very much for a lot of fans lets nostalgia. I am just fucking nailing it today.
Also, goodbye, John.
Oh, bye, John.
See you, John.
But we'll get to the technology boom. Mark.
Oh yeah, that's something I definitely want to talk about too.
But how it jumped 100 years in the future.
Yeah, we need to shut that right down. That's spoiler for something.
But
that totally
what I would have had, because it's clearly in that scene in the Pentagon room. It's so clear because Serizawa keeps looking at Admiral Stenz. And Admiral Stenz keeps glancing over at Serizawa, and you can see regret and respect in both of their eyes. You can see, like, I don't want to have to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go against you, but I'm going to have to go against you. And I'm like, you should have really played up that dichotomy in the movie. And like that, it's stuff like that that would make it a compelling story. You can have these characters with the backdrop of these giant monsters wrecking shit. I've always said that I love Godzilla as a backdrop. I love Godzilla being that threat in the background to the human stuff that's going on, and it's kind of the driving force of the human stuff. And the last thing I'll say about Godzilla King of the Monsters is, and this is honestly my biggest complaint with the movie, why the fuck didn't they use Rodan's roar?
I wasn't sure where you were going with this at first, but you do have a point. You know,
why the fuck didn't this movie use Rodan's
roar?
I
didn't. You know, the worst part is I didn't really even think about it.
Oh, I did.
I can tell you did, Adam. But
the moment, like, I was so excited. I was genuinely excited when Rodan, you see the wings coming out of the volcano, and I love the music in that scene too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm ready to hear Rodan's roar. And I'm like, because I think Rodan's roar, particularly the one from the 56, the original movie, is terrifying as fuck. And I was ready to hear that in theaters. And suddenly it's just this generic cackle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this sucks. Now he's just a giant claw. Except looks cool.
My man. Fuck yeah.
But no, I remember that was the first thing that hit my mind when I left the theaters the first time I watched it. I was like, why the fuck? Ghidorah, that's fine. You can change Ghidorah's roar all the time. His roar has changed all the time. That's fine. But to me, Rodan has a famous roar.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't recognize it's Rodan, you recognize that roar. And I'm like, come on. They use Mothra's roar.
Yeah. And even I think Ghidorah's roar is mixed. Like, it is slightly...
Most of it is the V-Rex from King Kong 05.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of it is the V-Rex from King Kong 05. So, yeah. Yeah, they did absolutely nothing with Charles Dance. And I'm like, the only reason why I like him is because he's Charles Dance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wasted character. That would have been awesome if he was like the anti-Dr. Serizawa, in which would have been like the whole SCP Foundation kind of deal, where it's these two organizations butting heads and stuff like that. And that would have been funny too, if suddenly the military is like, what the fuck, you two? What are we doing? And it's stuff like that I thought was a waste of opportunity.
So Adam, have you finished your...
I've finished. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Why are you apologizing?
I just know how much you like that movie. And I really do. And FYI, everybody, if you've noticed on my channel, I don't like talking about stuff that I don't like. I like talking about stuff that I like.
Yeah. Well, also, Adam, I will mention, I think that's really just a people thing. I don't think anyone really likes to talk about something.
Well, YouTube seems to disagree.
Oh, well, no, that's just the internet. The internet, all the algorithms just favor people yelling at each other. I'm not even wrong here, though. It's like they just favor people yelling and screaming at each other about stuff. Meanwhile, I'm just like, yo, that fucking scene?
Giant monster go boom.
Giant monster go... I'm glad I was on camera for that.
All right, we gotta take down the volume a little bit here, but
sorry.
Yeah, you're right, but no, I hate shitting on a movie that I know people, especially if they're in the room with me, like, because I don't like, because I know how frustrating I get if somebody likes a movie, or somebody doesn't like a movie, and I'm like, no, I fucking
at the same time, I don't like
so
me as a person. I don't really take offense. Like, I used to when I was really young. I used to be like, how dare you not like this movie that I like? But like, I grew up. I got older. And I realized, like,
that's the thing.
That's not healthy. It's not healthy to do that.
But yeah, no. And then of course, finally, my least favorite of these is Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
So as a segue, let's start talking about this fucking puppy.
All right. So you want a non-spoiler first?
Let's do our non-spoilers first. I mean, you kind of did it already.
Yeah.
Well, let's just do a recap. Here's our non-spoiler thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong.
Would you like to start, or would you like me to start?
You know, I've been talking for the last half hour, so I guess maybe you should probably chime in a little bit.
All right. So Godzilla vs. Kong was a movie. Do you like that one? You like that one, huh?
I do.
No, but like really, yeah, it really was like, and we had a stream before where we talked about it. We talked about the production of this movie, how messy it was getting, the uncertainty of this movie.
Yep.
And while I'm thankful it came out,
Mhm.
I'm thankful it actually existed and it came out. It's very, very clear that there's a lot of rushing. There's a lot of rushing with the movie.
It's a lot of Russians.
Rushing.
Oh.
Rushing with the movie, like we gotta scrape everything together. We gotta put this has to happen. This has to happen. This has to happen. I'm like,
there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that, and I think we've mentioned this, but really, it just kind of hammered home the idea. And I know you just went on a tangent how you didn't really like this movie. King of the Monsters really kind of brought the scale way too high.
Yes.
It brought it way too high.
Well, King of the Monsters is unrelatable in my opinion because of how big the scale is.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I love about 2014 is that it's a large scale movie.
Yeah.
But
it's at the same time
it's got a couple of these human characters going in it that really make it work. Oh boy, I kind of had a feeling you wouldn't like it. No. Oh wait, I like King of the Monsters. Towers of
Giza.
Towers of Giza. Are you referring to King of the Monsters now, or Godzilla vs. Kong?
I think probably Godzilla vs. Kong.
Probably Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
When I say my opinion, I'm gonna make it clear. It sounds like I don't like.
No, but but Godzilla vs. Kong. It definitely it feels like a very weak movie, and I without going, because we're not doing spoilers yet. I know we've hammered home like our feelings about the human stuff, but like this one did not do any service to that with the human characters, and I think to me there's one specific group in this movie of characters,
and we'll get to it.
We will get to that I just like. It's like what is going on?
Agree with you. Completely.
What is going on? I liked, and this isn't Adam Wingard thing. This isn't really a spoiler because it's in the trailers. Like I did aesthetically like the neon fight.
Loved it.
I thought it looked really pretty.
Loved it.
Really, really pretty.
I loved how the fights were clear.
Yeah.
They were in the day. I could see everything.
We had an in the day fight.
Yeah.
2 in the day fights.
And two in the day fight. The fight on the battleship was one of the most creative action scenes I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I loved that. I loved how somebody would go to Kong's POV and you could be like, okay, there's a ship there. There's one there. Okay, so if Godzilla's in now, okay. And then he'll move. I loved how it was plotting out that stuff. I loved all that stuff.
I also like in that scene too. I liked. It's actually so. I'm gonna wait. Talk about
wait for it. Yes.
Wait for that.
If I may say,
your turn.
I think Godzilla vs. Kong is the Godzilla vs. Megalon of the Monsterverse.
I think,
and on the surface, that sounds like a big fuck you insult.
Yeah,
it is not meant to be.
Yeah, I think it's a for better for worse kind of thing with that, because I kind of know where you're coming out with
it. Is not meant to be an insult because I love Godzilla vs. Megalon.
I do too.
I think that is, and I said this on my personal Facebook, which is why probably a lot of you didn't say this, but I will say this. Godzilla vs. Kong is a bad movie. It is a bad movie of the highest possible caliber.
Mm-hmm.
It is a garbage movie, but man, is it fun. And that's my opinion of the film. And what I mean by Godzilla vs. Megalon, that movie has the worst human characters in it out of any of the Showa era films. Yeah. They are so dull and boring and annoying. But man, are all 4 of the monsters, Jaguar, Megalon, especially Megalon. Megalon is just so fun. Godzilla, all of the kaiju in Godzilla vs. Megalon are full of character.
Yeah.
And fun.
Yeah.
And that's to me what this movie is. Like, you watch, Godzilla's full of character. I love the part where he laughs, I think is kind of funny.
Oh, I like that.
Kong is so full of life and character. Yeah. It is a bad movie of the highest possible caliber. That is my stance.
I do also kind of feel that the Godzilla vs. Megalon comparison, because the one thing from that is I do have a kind of like slight... I think it also, because I know Godzilla vs. Megalon wasn't really the best introduction to Godzilla. It was not the best introduction to Godzilla.
No, you know what? I take that back. I think it is. Okay. I think it is, because it's fun.
Okay.
As a kid, I loved it. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. And I know kids love it because, as I said many times, my mother took care of a child named Merrick. He saw me wearing a Creature from the Black Lagoon shirt and was scared of it, but also wanted to know what it was, and I showed him it, and of course it scared the shit out of him. But then he saw me watching Gamera and stuff like that, and I got him into it. He loved Gamera. Gamera was like his shit.
Did you?
Yeah, but Godzilla vs. Megalon, he loved Megalon. He loved Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
And he really liked that movie, and I'm like, then it succeeded at its purpose at entertaining kids.
This is kind of sidelining really quick. Did you by any chance see? A friend of mine sent me this because Godzilla Singular Points airing in Japan right now. I can't wait.
I can't wait.
But there was a video that my friend sent me of a man was watching with his two sons, and he showed in the video was the man showing his two sons Godzilla versus Megalon, and so because they got really attached to Jet Jaguar and Singular Point, and they showed him that it's nice.
It is nice.
Nice
watching Merrick watching Gamera kick ass or him watching him. I loved this. Watching him lean forward in his seat when Jet Jaguar and Godzilla were surrounded by fire and fucking Gigan is laughing and like directing where to like shoot the grenades coming out of Megalon's mouth.
Yeah.
I was like, this movie succeeded at what it needed to do, and that was entertain children. And I think Godzilla vs. Kong succeeded at what it was trying to do, which was being an event movie and turn off your brain and have fun.
Yeah, it definitely helped that it's something a movie.
I will say that it succeeded at that. It did not help the Godzilla community at all.
No.
If anything, it just reinforced every single trope. And every single partially legit criticism of a vast majority of
that's what I was kind of saying with the Megalon comparison. That's what I was trying to get at with that. Is that it kind of
because
like
Megalon is often the poster child of this is what Godzilla is, and it's not.
That's kind of the point I was trying to make with that, where it's like it kind of opened that can of worms again pretty bad. But the one thing is, like you mentioned, that it was like what this movie needed to be is just a good, fun, like romp like that. Honestly, I do agree with you. I think it succeeded. It definitely was just, I think, a movie, and you've definitely said this before. It definitely was just a movie people needed to watch right now.
We needed this movie.
Just something like this. Just
because of the shitstorm the last couple of years have been. This movie was like, you're in a room, somebody took the biggest, wettest shit in the middle of the room. This was that can of Febreze that just came in. That shit's still there.
Yeah.
That shit is still there. But now we can breathe again for a little bit. And, you know, and it's exactly what it needed to be. Oliver, earlier, you said this movie was everything Batman v Superman should have been, light, kind of dumb, and fun.
I agree with you.
And I agree. I do agree with you. And that's where the mixed bag comes in, because a part of me is like, no, I really want my dark, gritty, Godzilla 2014-esque kind of stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I needed to have fun.
Yeah.
When we watched it together, we were laughing the entire time. It was a fun night.
It really was like,
and I loved how we were like making like grunt and groaning noises for Old Man Kong as he's walking around and like scratching his butt.
My personal my favorite bit, which you meant. When we go into spoilers, I want to fucking talk about that.
Oh no!
Not that it's a huge deal, but
okay.
I want to mention I had a running bit when we were watching it of I want, and I still want to. I haven't done it yet.
Oh,
I want to compile every shot of Kong just laying down. For some reason, it's really satisfying to me.
It's like just Kong going,
just like Kong just like hanging out
and just laying down. Yeah,
it's
so
oddly sad. Same thing for one other thing Monsterverse.
Every time he laid down, I remember you'd be like, "There's not one."
The Monsterverse too. The one other thing they nailed, and this is another small thing, is that, and this isn't really a spoiler for GBK because it happens in Skull Island too, is for some reason Kong eating in these movies is so gratifying.
So funny.
Like the squid from Skull Island to me is awesome. He gets attacked by the squid. He takes his breath and he's like,
oh, it's a snack.
No, walks away with it.
Fucking in this movie, I love how he fights those weird dragon things, and that's not a spoiler either. That's not a spoiler either. That's in the trailer.
Yeah.
And he fucking takes it. He's like, and starts eating its brain.
It's great.
And I'm like, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. Again, dumb fun. I think that's our pretty bad movie, but dumb fun.
Yeah.
I think that's our overall opinion of it. I think it's time we get the fuck into spoilers. The first thing that I really wanted to talk about before we get into anything else, and I'll bring up the topics, the lower third right now. There we go. So we did our overall thoughts of Godzilla versus Kong. No spoilers.
What happens after that?
What happens after that? I'm about to find out.
Oh, no.
The plot.
Oh, okay.
So we're in spoiler territory now. Now
Okay.
all bets are off. Spoilers.
Sorry,
spoiler
guys. If you haven't watched this movie yet, I don't know what to tell you.
If you, I don't understand why you haven't watched it by now.
If you're watching this stream, you more than likely have watched it. I'm assuming.
Let's talk about the complete fucking joke that is the plot on this movie.
Yeah, I can't really.
It is a joke. It is.
I still don't really
It
understand.
is laughably.
I still don't really understand the Hollow Earth.
No, it is such bullshit.
It just.
I want to say
like,
this. I applaud how this movie just embraces the absurd.
Yeah,
the absolute
but I think that does kind of hurt it a little bit.
It does.
It kind of hurts it.
Well, it's gratifying in the short run.
Yeah.
In the long run, it's not helping us any.
Mm.
But the plot itself is the most contrived thing I've ever seen in a movie. This is seriously one of the most contrived plots I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Literally, the plot literally only exists to get Godzilla and Kong fighting, and then for them to fight Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
Like, really? There couldn't have been something a little more creative here.
I think it's just like, it kind of, to me, also just stems in where it's like, I feel like a lot of dialogue from the characters were
awful.
Were lines like just trying to have to describe what, with the one exception,
the dialogue in this movie is atrocious.
The one exception is, and this isn't even really dialogue because the character doesn't speak, the little girl that's with Kong is.
She is the one redeeming grace with the human
I agree with you. To me, it makes sense for her to explain how Kong's feeling because that's their dynamic.
That is my favorite scene in the movie, by the way.
Yeah.
By far, my favorite scene. I actually got choked up on my recent reviewing of it because I had the headphones in and the music was great in that sequence too. But the part where Kong goes home, you know, he does the sign language, and I'm like, that actually, I think,
yeah,
right?
it's something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I loved that. Yeah, I fucking loved that scene. That was the scene in the movie, by the way, that made me realize, okay, they know Kong. We're going to have this is a good representation of Kong.
Yeah.
Was that scene. It was a genuinely fantastic scene. I'll be completely honest as well. One of my favorite scenes in the Monsterverse is that scene.
Yeah, I think that's a really
and it's not too over the top either because gorillas are very quick to pick up sign language.
Yeah, like I found it completely
pick it up. Yeah,
like,
and that's another thing that I really loved genuinely like about Godzilla versus Kong is I love how they play up the fact that yes, Kong is just a giant monkey, but he's smart.
Yeah,
he is much smarter than Godzilla.
I kind of was like annoyed how they were still doing that. It was like, oh, it's a big monkey.
I was annoyed.
I love the memes. The memes outside of the movie are funny. But like in the actual context of the film, it's like, do you guys not realize at this point Kong is like more than just
a monkey? Yeah,
he's pretty sentient. He's making weapons in your dome. It's like,
I'm like, he's a pretty smart monkey.
Yeah.
And the one that almost ruins that scene is when the daughter of the billionaire goes, did the monkey just talk?
Yeah.
And I hated that. Why couldn't she just stare out in awe and be like, oh my God?
Yeah.
Why couldn't she just stare at better yet, why didn't she say anything at all and just focus on the reactions of the characters?
Yeah, it's
and stuff like that. But anyways, we'll get into more of that when we get to the kaiju.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the plot, I absolutely detest how every other kaiju that existed in this universe seems to have been written out. I guess did Godzilla kill them?
Adam, I 100% agree with you on that, but the thing is,
Behemoth.
I know.
I wanted Behemoth to be Godzilla's pet elephant.
I know. Which actually, like, the thing is, like, the problem is, I kind of going in expected that this was going to happen because there was literally nothing about these other it sucks. It's like I hate that I have to say that, but it's like I shouldn't expect it at this point. We haven't seen anything.
Like, what if I'm being completely ridiculous here and I'm just spitballing? What if instead it suddenly became a civil war of the Titans? Like Captain America's Civil War, but with these kaiju. Some of them are like, no, we want to be with Kong. Yeah. And then some others are like, fuck you, the king.
Yeah.
The king of the monsters.
Well, that also... Is that plot talking about my original theory of why Godzilla was angry? Would that be plot, or would that be kaiju?
Well, we can talk about why. We were wondering why Godzilla would be doing what he... and I think it's a piss poor excuse.
There was I had a standing, like, this was my theory for this movie, and I was completely wrong. I thought they were going to go the route of original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, that Godzilla, it's imposter Godzilla.
Me too.
I really
was totally on
board. That's what they were going to do. I was wrong.
I was expecting aliens, so we were...
Yeah, no, it's I thought it was going to play out like imposter Godzilla is a thing. Aliens have been secret, in a secret underground facility working with government to build Mechagodzilla or something.
Right.
And then it leads in during the final fight. Godzilla, Kong is fighting Mechagodzilla, and then Godzilla would show up. The real Godzilla would show up, and then that's when, like, the team up would start. And then I even had an idea of just, like, maybe like holding out hope that maybe that's when some of the other Titans will show up. But I was clearly, that last part was, like, definitely, even I was like, I don't know.
No, yeah. I think my theory was that was the real Godzilla on the battleship scene.
Yeah.
But everything in the Neon City was imposter Godzilla. Everything Millie Bobby Brown was talking about was referring to imposter Godzilla, not the real Godzilla.
Yeah.
Bobby Brown. Can we talk about that subplot?
Do we want to talk about that?
Yes.
All right.
Well, we kind of have to.
Something important about the humans in this movie is that they're separated into, like, two different teams.
Very different teams.
Yeah, there's, like, the team behind Kong, who are, like, the actual big official people. And then we got the Godzilla team, who is Millie Bobby Brown, a conspiracy theorist man, and haha funny friend. And let me tell you, those characters, didn't like them.
That was the...
didn't like them at all.
Every time it would cut to that subplot, I cringed.
They wasted...
This movie wasted every bit of talent of the actors.
Yeah, Millie Bobby Brown especially. I liked her in King of the Monsters, and, like, she's a good actress.
What if her character arc... This is what I probably would have done. Is her character arc is her coming to terms with the fact that Godzilla can be terrible. Because she clearly has, like, kind of a worship complex of Godzilla because Godzilla saved her.
Yeah.
And, I gotta mention this.
Okay.
I hate the fact at the very beginning of this movie, you see a picture of Emma on a newspaper bulletin, and it says, Emma, whatever their last name is, hero or villain. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She is a villain.
Yeah.
She is a villain.
Nope,
she is the most evil human being on the face of the planet.
It's not a hero.
Anyways, sorry. I had to mention that.
No, but yeah, it's like that...
Well, the fact that they brought back those two characters from the previous movie, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, and Kyle Chandler just like...
Yeah, I love Kyle Chandler. And I was like, ooh, and they do nothing.
Yeah, it's a shame.
They do absolutely
It's really
nothing.
a shame with that. And it's like, I want to get back to the fucking... The Godzilla squad, because, like, my God, like, nothing... How did they manage to... I know they had the conspiracy guy. How did they manage to... Like... Someone who mentioned in the comments about the technology increase of these movies.
Oh my God.
How did that facility not have, like, any... And I don't like to be that guy. I don't really like to be that guy who's like, XUV, but, like...
I
really,
love my alternate history. I really do. I love the fact that this is now alternate history.
Yeah,
Godzilla 2014 changed the world. And now it's off into another branch from our reality. And I really love that. 2014 to 2019, basically, to 2021 is too short of a period of a time for me to buy all of that technology.
Yeah, it's
something, and please don't take this as me saying that my Godzilla saga is better than this. It's not me saying that. I'm using it as an example because it's what I like.
Yeah.
It's my taste.
I understand what
you're... The Godzilla saga takes place, it begins in 2029 and it ends in 2065.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge period of time with technology. And that's one of the big things, is that Godzilla returned in 2029, and it changed everything. Uh-oh. Are all the other Titans dead? Yeah, they don't explain that at all.
Well, and actually, Andrew has a comment, apparently.
Oh?
Don't worry, Adam. If you want to know why they didn't bother to write any of the kaiju in, read the comic to know what should have been stated, changed in the film. So there was a tie-in comic. He does have a point.
I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
I hate
Ain't a
that.
fan.
I'm not going to read them.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of comics.
I don't dislike comics. I just don't. I think that's annoying when it's like
it's in the supplementary material.
I just want to enjoy the actual piece.
No, a movie must stand on its own first and foremost before anything else. And I have that with themes too, because there's a lot of allegorical films. It's why I'm not a big fan of allegory, actually, where it's like the movie relies. It's like without the allegory, the movie doesn't work.
Yeah,
and I have a problem with that. I'm like, to me, no, your plot and movie has to stand on its own regardless of the allegory.
Yeah,
you can then add the allegory in there, but the movie needs to stay. That's why the original Godzilla is so good. Even if you take out the allegory and the subtext of like the nuclear bombs and Hiroshima and fire bombings and everything like that, you have a solid movie of this giant radioactive monster that's going to wreck shit. Plus, you have a compelling human plot. Who is Dr. Serizawa? Serizawa's entire plight is a wonderful character thing that makes the movie stand on its own.
Yeah.
The fact that it has all that subtext in there is just like icing on a cake. You can't just have icing if you're making a cake. You can just, at that point, it's just icing. It tastes great and it's awesome, but it's not a cake.
Yeah.
If you want to have the whole cake, you have to put the dough in. You have to make the cake and then put the icing on. Godzilla King of the Monsters is just the icing. That's just it. I know everybody tends to say that that's their favorite part of a cake.
Yeah.
But that you're missing. You can't call it a cake at that point.
There's a balance. Like there's a balance. If we're gonna use the cake allegory even more, there's like a balance. You need. If you have too much frosting, it just feels like you're eating like slime. But if you have too much cake, you're like it's too dry. It's like I'm not even trying to make a joke on this. Right? It sounded like I was doing a bit. I was not.
No, you're exactly right though. Yeah. And Martin, you say the movie is dumb, fun, lizard, monkey, robot slap each other kind of movie. Absolutely. Yeah. And it succeeded at doing that. We're just talking about the plot and how fucking stupid it is.
Yeah.
The plot itself is... It's the Millie Bobby Brown one that really irked me the most.
Because
it's so needless.
It's the most annoying.
And I hate the fact that they defeat Mechagodzilla by spilling whiskey on the computer.
Yeah, that was...
When that scene happened, I almost threw something at the.
Can I mention something, by the way?
Yeah.
Something about those characters, specifically in Mechagodzilla. So is Mechagodzilla an established thing in this universe? Because there's the line of like the guy's like, "What is this? Some kind of robot Godzilla?" And then I have to pull this because one of my best friends, he loves he says this line all the time lately because it's funny. It's just no, it's Mechagodzilla, and I'm like. Does he exist in this universe?
I mean, yeah, technically he is. Actually, it's really funny if you watch the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, he's not a mech at all.
No,
he's a robot.
Yeah,
so technically that's where you could say Robot Godzilla.
Yeah, but
this one is a mech. It's controlled by a person.
It doesn't make any sense. It's just like why even correct him?
Yeah, I agree with that. Why?
It's the smallest thing for the record.
The other thing too that bugs me about the plot in this is how Monarch just isn't really a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Monarch is there, but it's like very in the background. Now it's all about Apex. Why wasn't Apex a thing before?
It's weird.
Yeah, and this is because clearly there was no one person at the head saying this is where we're going.
Yeah, it's
because as much as we always rag on George Lucas, in the 3 original movies, what really made those work is how George Lucas, I mean, he made the first one, but the second 2, he wrote the story, but other people took over to make it better. Those movies, George Lucas was there the entire time saying, this is point A, we got to go to point B, here's point C. He had a direction.
And that's also even if we want to use the Star Wars comparison even more, is that I know everyone rags on the prequels all the time, but at least
there's a story. There's a story that was thought out in that stuff.
Whether or not you like it or not, there's clearly something there, and you can appreciate that.
Yes, but if you watch the sequel trilogy, clearly there's no one calling the shots there, and that's the Monsterverse.
To me, that was the biggest mistake. I don't want to talk about
the Monsterverse. I'll say is much better than the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
I think I agree with you on that too.
However, you can tell that there's no guy at the top, because if there was somebody at the top, they probably would have said, here's a company called Apex, they're starting to fund Monarch and stuff like that to tie them in together a little bit more.
Yeah,
who is this billionaire who's running Apex and all that stuff? But instead, Godzilla, this irked me to no end. We have all these characters from Godzilla King of the Monsters, like Charles Dance. No reference to it. How did these people get the Ghidorah skull? How are they powering Mechagodzilla with Ghidorah's skull? First off, this movie should have been Godzilla versus Kong: The Revenge of Kevin, because that was Kevin.
Great callback.
Yeah,
great line.
Yeah, The Revenge of Kevin.
For those who don't know,
why is it
that was the name of that head?
Hold on, tell me, how does it? And I know this requires a wide berth of suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
But why is a skull acting like a brain? Yeah. Like, I would have bought more if they just put Ghidorah's brain in, like, a giant vat. So,
my rationale with that scene was the fact that it is established that Ghidorah in this universe has, like, it has, like, wild regen that we can't comprehend.
Yeah.
That is...
It is an alien.
I was able, to an extent, to understand that, but at the same time, I agree with you, where it's like, what the fuck? Why is it paying power? And also on the same topic, that is, what was even the point of making that guy Serizawa's son?
That's my biggest problem with that. What was the point of making that Serizawa's son? Like, he has no character at all. That could have been just Joe Schmo. Just any random guy. Like, and first off, that's kind of a character assassination to Serizawa.
Yeah, it's like...
Serizawa never... It was always his father. It never established that he had a wife or a child.
No.
Never. Even referenced. Nope. And it's actually a bit contradictory, because in Godzilla King of the Monsters, they say... This is more into character stuff. We might as well just segue into the characters.
Woo, characters, woo!
This more, particularly the human characters.
Yeah.
It's more... In Godzilla King of the Monsters, there's a scene where clearly Serizawa was somewhat good with kids because of Aaron.
Yeah.
The main... Kyle Chandler's son used to be with Monarch all the time, would be running around, and Serizawa would joke with him.
Yeah.
So it's to suddenly see, oh, hey, apparently he's completely abandoned this boy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
And he's bad.
He's bad.
Also,
he also has orgasms when he splits.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I was just gonna state, can we stop doing that? Can we stop making it?
Can we stop doing the evil gasms?
Can we stop doing the fucking like in the pilot scene? They're like having the time of their fucking life. I mean, good for them. They're clearly having a great.
Yeah, they're
time.
Getting the rocks
off.
The
only time that it's ever worked for me. I don't know. Have you seen Chappie by any chance?
Yes.
It worked for me in that movie, because crazy Hugh Jackman fucking worked for me in that movie.
All right.
But like
calm your tits. All right,
they do. They're fine. They're fine. But it also, because it makes me think of, I fucking hate this movie. A Pacific Rim Uprising. They do the same thing with Charlie Day's character in that movie, and it's just weird. It's weird, and I just dislike it.
I wish to bring up Pacific Rim again, because Pacific Rim is how you do world building in one movie.
Yeah, yeah.
The Godzilla vs. Kong completely failed at world building in every way, shape, and form. Yeah. There's no details in the background, and I was paying attention. There's no details to say, like, oh, means this. This is the rank structure of this. It's just a piss poor excuse for a plot.
Yeah.
And the characters, we can't even talk about. The only character in the movie is the little girl.
Yeah. She's
the only one that has a character.
The one character I could second is, the worst part is I don't even fucking remember his name. The main
villain?
No, the army guy who had like the brother who like had apparently went to
plot device.
He was like the closest one I could see to another character. I could see something in him. I could see something in that character, but and like he was the other character that I'm like I was like, I can actually get around this. I agree with you. I'm not saying it's a good job. I'm saying like out of everyone.
If anything, the film was hinting at he hated the Titans, but he really loved he was obsessed with the Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
And he only wanted to use the Titans to get to the Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
But over the course of it, he sees Kong doing stuff, and he grows an attachment to Kong, because remember, it's his idea to kickstart Kong's heart after he loses.
Yeah, he technically saves Kong too in the boat flip. So
exactly. And that stuff on paper sounds great. Execution, it's hardly there.
Yeah, I'm not.
You really have to dig.
I'm not saying it's well done. I'm not saying it, but I out of every other human character in this movie and every other character, I can see it a little bit there.
Yeah,
I can see it there.
But no, it really is that little girl. To me, in my humble opinion, everything they did with that little girl in Kong was amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
They nailed it. I love how she carries the little Kong doll around and everything like that. I don't understand what happened to Skull Island. I know that the storm apparently moved in and killed
You
everybody.
know what's annoying about that too to me is that, and I was going back to plot, but it's like at the end credits for King of the Monsters, they like hint at like all of the kaiju were heading to Skull Island to take, and like I really wanted to kind of see something like that in this movie. That don't happen.
Yeah, I like the idea of the biodome for Kong, how they're protecting him from Godzilla.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a cool idea.
It's conceptually,
and I love the idea that Kong knows.
Yeah.
Or he's just recently figured it out, and he's like, fuck you.
I'm gonna mention, I'm really bummed that like we literally had a scene where King Kong scratches his ass, and no one...
Opening scene's one of the first shots of the movie.
No one joked about it.
I know.
That's like prime material right there for humor, and no one joked about it.
Old Man Kong is awesome.
I like it.
Yeah, he is awesome.
I like it too. So
I also like the throwaway line the billionaire's daughter said. She's like, Jesus, I can smell him all the way up here. For some reason, I like that line because it just kind of adds a level of believability. Because I'm like, Kong would reek.
It also,
all the monsters would reek.
And also, it adds a lot, like makes us not like that character more. Whereas,
right.
Like, oh, great.
But I hated her. I hated how like.
I like how she gets killed.
Yeah, I love how she gets killed. I love how she gets killed.
Like,
that's another thing that I loved about all of the Monsterverse movies. I love how they'll just kill off a main character.
Because that's they're in the Hollow Earth and Kong has the heave. It just crushes it like a Mountain Dew can.
I'm like, hell yeah. The only thing that would have been better is if he just went, or like
he does like a stone.
What if it was like an actual can of beer and he was like, and
he goes like fucking full Stone Cold Steve Austin. He has a
yeah, absolutely. No, I always like that about all of these movies, how they just kill. Doesn't matter if they're a big star or not. It started with Bryan Cranston. They will just brutally kill somebody off.
And honestly, like if I was one of the actors, I kind of want to be killed by a giant monster.
Yeah, if I was gonna disappear, oh damn. If I was gonna die in a movie, I'd love to get killed by a giant monster in a movie.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't want to get killed by a giant monster in a movie?
Yeah, like. No doubt.
Anyways, but there's hardly anything there's much less to talk about human characters in this than in King of the Monsters. Yeah. Even though I hated most of the stuff in King of the Monsters.
Yeah,
this is there's nothing to talk about.
I think we've kind of really hit all of our beats with it.
All of it. Let's talk about the kaiju, though. Let's talk about the character of the kaiju.
And of course, that's where we can say this movie shines.
This movie absolutely... For the most part. I think they missed a mark with Godzilla.
For the most part.
And we'll start with Godzilla then, I guess. Because Godzilla, very much in this movie, is far more of a force in the background. He's kind of like which fits Godzilla.
Yeah, and also...
And I've said earlier, and this is why I said we're probably going to sound like hypocrites, because I've said before... that I love it when Godzilla is like the background, like he is the ever-present force.
Well, the thing is, I think I know where you're coming from.
Godzilla versus Destroya.
I'm sorry.
Is amazing.
Okay.
At doing this as Godzilla as a backdrop, and I want to say this before I lose my train of thought.
That's okay. No, finish your point.
Because if you watch that movie, it opens with, oh my God, Godzilla's island has exploded.
Yeah.
What the fuck has happened to Godzilla? What the fuck's happened to Junior? Hard cuts to Hong Kong. Ironically, Hong Kong, another connection to this movie. Hard cuts to Hong Kong. Godzilla appears, and he's glowing red, and he's pissed. And he's taking out his anger on the city.
Yeah.
And the entire movie the next scene hard cuts to a meeting, and they're like almost no joke. All right, guys, what the fuck happened? like almost no joke. That's what happened.
I love that movie.
It's such a good movie. It's my third favorite Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
But that was really great. And not only setting Godzilla as an ever-present force in the background because there's a ticking time bomb in that film, but also just something pissed Godzilla off, and they really establish it very well. In this movie, I don't think they establish it very well.
Yeah, I think it kind of just happens. I mean,
they hint at it. I love that line in King of the Monsters where they're like, "Oh, he helped us. He's our friend," and somebody's like, "For now."
For now, which to me is like that was one of my favorite aspects of the Monsterverse within the Monsters is that they were establishing them not just as monsters but as
animals. They are benevolent. The definition of benevolent.
They don't care. They just want their dominance. They just want that. And
exactly.
To me, and you are correct, is that they don't really establish why Godzilla. We kind of just have to assume why he's angry.
Yeah, why he's angry. We don't know how he figured it out.
And the one thing is, like, I will mention is that, and I mentioned this before, how I found King of the Monsters like Godzilla's character movie. So I think it's my rationale of thinking when I went into this movie is that I kind of was expecting Kong to be the bigger focus of this movie and have the bigger development of the
Really,
thing.
I really didn't. I
Really?
thought it was going to be pretty even, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, because it's interesting because like they give Godzilla top billing, but like every ad was like Kong, 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 and
Yes, I noticed that,
and
but I thought that was in response because they knew Kong. That was me being cynical.
yeah,
They were focusing on Kong because they know Kong was the most successful movie out of the series.
yeah,
But whatever. I'm glad they focused on Kong. I
Mhm.
love Kong. And I've said this before, and I'll say this again. I want to relate to Kong. I
yeah,
want to root
yeah,
for him.
yeah,
I love the fact that they make Kong the underdog. Like he
yeah,
is the underdog.
and also like the fact that he, big spoiler, everyone, he actually, if you want to declare a winner, he didn't win.
No, he didn't.
He got rocked. Like he
Yeah,
got,
absolutely.
he put up a fight. He put up a great fight, but like he got absolutely
Well, that goes into what I love about this movie is that I love how they really do play up the fact that yeah, no, he did stand up in a one-on-one fight with Godzilla, he's going to get his ass kicked, but he's smart.
Yep.
I love that. I love how that first fight, not the first fight, sorry, the first one in Hong Kong, which by the way, Godzilla somehow blasting a hole into the middle of the earth with his atomic breath is the most retarded thing I've ever heard.
It's
that just happened. Okay, so you mean to tell me I gotta buy this? All right. So Mechagodzilla is being built in Hong Kong. Okay. That, on the first place, happens to be over Kong's little kingdom, Kong's little castle.
Mhm.
You mean to tell me all of this just happened to happen in the same place?
Wait,
Like,
was it established that the Kong holdout was in Kong?
yeah, yeah, because there's a blatant scene in that. That's how the human characters actually managed to survive. Is because after all the bat sequences and those little bat thingies
Yeah.
are like eating them all.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's like a flash of blue.
Yeah.
And bam, Godzilla's atomic breath comes through the
Well, okay, you mean like that? I thought you were saying. Oh, I thought you were saying like the dome Kong was in that was in
Oh, no,
yeah, I was like,
sorry.
wait, what? I was like, no, it's cool.
But
Yeah, that was definitely. I do like to play up the idea. Is everything okay?
No, I was gonna say plot. They did it for the sake of plot.
No, they did it for the sake of plot. I personally, I like to play up the idea that Godzilla was just so angry that he just fire breathed into the center of the earth.
Yeah, I do love the idea of Godzilla was getting so fucking pissed off and him lunging all over it. But I also loved seeing Kong jumping all over the buildings and using the buildings to his advantage.
Yeah.
That's how I would have done it.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I would have treated, and I really liked all that stuff, and I really loved when Kong throws down the axe. I really like that part.
I really need to comment on this because I agree 100% with you. With Andrew's comment about him being so angry, he goes on all fours. Yeah, Godzilla on all fours.
Did he do that? I didn't notice.
He does. He charges towards Kong on all fours.
Oh.
And you know what? That visual is kind of fucking scary.
Yeah, Godzilla on all fours. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, and also like seeing him so fast. I think it's just fault of they removed so much weight from these characters.
Oh yes.
I think that's partially.
Again, look, you compare this to 2014, and they are light years different.
Yeah. I will mention, it's a fan thing. I loved the callback to the tree.
Oh yeah, we all laughed at that.
I loved the callback to the tree.
Before we played Godzilla versus Kong, while I was making everybody popcorn, I put on the fight scene from King Kong versus Godzilla, and evidently you two were commenting about the tree at some point. And the moment that happened in this, where he shoved the axe down Godzilla's throat, everyone in here was like, "Whoa, they did it!"
I also there's a little detail during that fight too, where it's because Kong tries to go for the infamous like jaw break on Godzilla, but he singes his fingers on his jaw because Godzilla's going for the atomic breath at the same time.
Yes,
I like that. I think that's a cute little like now there.
Heat Seeker X-51. What? Godzilla blasting a hole to hollow Earth just to yell at Kong? You're right.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like I like it like that. I like that it's like he was just so angry.
Right. He's so angry. I have to blast a hole through the Earth. To yell at you.
Like, and I know suspension. We mentioned before, suspension of disbelief is like a thing, but I just like that was the point where I was like, that's.
As I said, this video is going to be very us like sounding contradictory.
But I also want to mention too that I think it's also partially because like again, I still barely get
But-
the Hollow Earth.
Well,
Like,
me neither.
It's
I don't
so
understand it.
sci-fi
I
mumbo
actually think
jumbo
that
at
the
times.
fact that they showed the Hollow Earth was bad. I loved I would have left the Hollow Earth as being like the big mystery of
That's
the
a good
entire
idea.
thing.
I didn't think of it like that.
Because Godzilla's lair was like the tip of the spear. God, I would have loved if Kong broke his jaw.
No, I wouldn't have, because I like Godzilla.
I did. Well, I'm Team Kong, so I would have been okay with that. But you know, in the Godzilla saga, he tries to break Godzilla's jaw, but Godzilla is smart and uses his atomic breath and burns the fuck out of Kong's fingers. But anyways, but you know, it's.
I like the fat lizard that was in the Hollow.
He looked like a pit bull. It looked like a pit bull, and it was adorable.
I liked him.
Those dragon monsters were
those
cool
are
looking,
the warbats. That's
the warbats.
That's their official name, the warbat.
God.
I don't get that name either.
I prefer that. I think the skull crawlers were cooler.
Yeah.
The skull crawlers were terrifying.
Oh, the skull crawler that gets literally eviscerated by fucking Mechagodzilla.
Split in two.
Holds it in two. Which, okay, so can we move on to Mecha G for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam, what is your feeling? Because this is like the worst kept secret ever that Mechagodzilla was going to be.
Mechagodzilla was going to be in
It's like the worst kept secret ever. But a lot of people.
You know what? Towers of Giza. Yeah, Godzilla just pops his jaw back together. Oh, that would have been kind of badass.
Awesome.
Like he's like
That would be awesome.
Well, it would have been fun. Well, yeah. Kong does he dislocates his shoulder, right? Kong does dislocate his shoulder and he pops it back in.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
I like that too.
I like that too.
But so Mechagodzilla is in this movie. I don't know if anyone knows that yet.
Oh, what? What's that?
Oh, what the fuck? What? Oh no! I've been spoiling it the whole time. No. So Mechagodzilla's in this movie, and I gotta be real, and this is gonna be a little biased coming from me because I like robots. I actually really liked this Mechagodzilla, like not as a deep character, as a robot. I'm talking from like a robot standpoint. I liked this Mechagodzilla.
This is by far my least favorite.
I understand. I'm not going to even contest you.
Design-wise, I'm okay with
like...
it. Design-wise, I'm okay with it because unlike the other interpretations of Mechagodzilla, where he's just shoot everything and try to overwhelm Godzilla,
dude, this one has fucking jets on its elbow and it punches and like
fucking cool.
It has all this mech shit that I love. And at one point, he like pseudo power bombs Kong.
Look, and I've said this before because I include the Monsterverse as a part of the Reiwa era. Since this is the era of Godzilla. I've said this before, I'll say it many times. Regardless of if I like the content or not, I love how in the Reiwa era they were at least taking risks with what they're doing. Like, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Godzilla Singular Point. Mm-hmm. I like the universe within the Godzilla anime trilogy, regardless of the movies themselves. Shin Godzilla was great. I love how in this one they said, "No, what? We're going to make Mechagodzilla a brawler like this version of Godzilla." And I'm like, we haven't seen that version of Mechagodzilla before. And I'm like, I like it.
With this Mechagodzilla too is like I was a little more forgiving of some of the design changes for this one, like the weird.
FYI, the design is not why it's my least favorite.
No, I didn't take it like that.
Yeah,
I didn't take it like that. But I'm just mentioning because that's always like the first thing people go to for this Mechagodzilla. It kind of like I had an epiphany with it a little bit where it was like, no, this is actually how I would imagine a Mechagodzilla in this universe.
Well, it looks like this universe is Godzilla.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off. There's one like it looks like it. It looks the part. It's blockier, so it feels a little more kind of like this. Like if we're going to realistically make a Mechagodzilla in the real world, like that. It all falls apart when you start to think about the technology of this movie and how. That's where it really starts to fall apart because at this point in time, I feel like they should have something.
Do you remember me complaining in Godzilla King of the Monsters where I was like, where the fuck did they get the Argo from? Where the fuck did that technology come from?
Yeah.
So when this movie comes out and says, no, what? We're not going to explain that. We're just going to make it worse. I was like...
The heaves, bro. The heaves.
The heaves. Oh God!
How you guys liking it so far? So yeah, it's.
Welcome to Casting Couch.
No, yeah, but really though, all joking aside, is that's the one thing that's like I had the epiphany. I'm like, well, shit, that doesn't work with my feelings on this now because the technology has advanced so much that they would probably have a more advanced, slimmer design, and it's like,
oh, speaking of the tech and everything, the billionaire is absolutely correct. Oh, this movie tries to paint him like he's the evil maniacal villain, and they play him as such because he has that stupid speech and then gets killed from behind, like just thrown aside
I agree
by
that
Mechagodzilla.
speech is stupid. I kind of loved how Mechagodzilla became sentient in the background during that.
Yeah,
I kind of loved that.
compositionally I liked it, but it was very comical, and
No, you're right.
It fits the tone with the movie,
Yeah.
though. However, he's right. The villain in this movie is absolutely right. I don't like the idea that we as a species are putting our fate in the hands of a giant radioactive lizard. I don't like that idea very much. So I loved the idea that no, we're going to make Mechagodzilla to assert our place here.
Yeah, yeah.
And he keeps saying dominance. I probably would have changed it to assert our place in this hierarchy.
Yeah, the thing is that that's just the go-to phrase where you want to explain something like just dominance.
And stuff like that. And I really love that idea. They do nothing with it. I still don't understand how a skull can have the power of a brain.
It was... Yeah, I
don't understand that. I also don't understand how they were immediately able to transfer the power from Element X down in the core to Mechagodzilla without there being a physical connection.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that worked. I liked the aesthetic. See, here's the thing though. You could absolutely keep the aesthetic of all the neon stuff and just say that was a trend that has come out of this, and I'd be fine with it. It's just the tech that I'm like, oh boy, that's a large fucking pill you have to swallow.
And again, we mentioned it too. Is like that's not even just a problem of this movie. It's just a problem of like how quickly it's escalated throughout all of these movies.
Yeah, the Heat Seeker X-51. The billionaire actually had a solid review. Yeah, he did, but because it's a Hollywood movie, rich billionaire has to be villain.
Yeah, that's
evil organization. Not evil organization, evil corporation, because it's a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, it also like it too with that is that like you can still do that cliche and have a spin on it. Have a spin on it. It's just the problem is they went really simple with it, and it's
so unbelievably simple in it, and it hurts. To me, it just hurts the movie.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, here's stuff that you could really add like real big stakes between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla and all that shit. You could add more of stakes, like what if Godzilla maybe has to humble himself a little bit to say, Kong, I need some help with here. Like you could add character shit here.
Yeah, and like that's one thing too is that like I definitely do agree with the idea that Godzilla finding out that this mechanical version of him is something that would make him angry.
I agree with that.
I totally agree with that. I buy that in this universe. 100%.
100%.
I buy it. I just wish we kind of got to see it without like the review, because obviously that spoils Mechagodzilla's in the movie.
Exactly.
But like you needed something like that to tell that it's like Godzilla sees that humanity is trying to make him.
Yes.
And especially after what he did in the previous movie, where it's like
I saved your asses.
It's like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
It's like
I would have liked to have. I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen more of that. But I gotta say, out of all of the monster characters, though, Kong is the only character, really. Like, he's the only one that really, because you said it, and I kind of agree with you, Godzilla's already had his character movie.
Yeah,
so this one's Kong.
I agree with you.
And I literally love,
but
I know we said this many times now, but I love literally everything they did with Kong in this movie. I thought they nailed Kong as a character. They understood him as a character. I love his relationship with that little girl. Mm-hmm. I love how he, for some reason, is really trusting of her, but not really anybody else.
Yeah.
I genuinely really liked that.
Yeah.
I have to admit the entire Hollow Earth sequence felt like I was playing a video game.
Yeah, not even in a good way, to be honest with you. In a like, what's happening here?
Yeah, I really appreciate the absurd. Don't get me wrong, because like when I'm watching this, I was just kind of laughing, going, okay.
Yeah.
But when you look at it critically, you're like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, I can get around like absurd, like otherworldly things like that. I can't, but this is the one time it was just kind of like, what? I still don't even understand. If we're here now, and I still don't really even understand.
Yeah, how did we get here? What? Huh?
It's a pocket dimension.
Yeah. That's the thing, and I don't understand it.
I don't know. It's
Anywho, yeah. I mean that's pretty cool. The Kong was pretty cool and everything like that, and all the monster stuff was great.
Wish we had a little more of like understanding the previous Kongs. Do you think,
Oh, good thing you're bringing that up.
yeah,
Because for the record,
that scene just
I
kinda,
think that is the stupidest shit I have ever seen in the movie. Period. Ever.
I wouldn't say stupidest, but like it's definitely a little.
You mean
like,
to tell me that these gorillas are smart enough to not just make a chair, but a throne and statues of themselves? Like,
Yeah.
what is Kong like the most inbred thing ever?
I don't mean
Like,
to cut you off really quick because Martin commented on. I know Mechagodzilla was going to be in the movie because of the toy leaks. To me, that's why I mentioned it's like the worst kept secret ever because
Yeah,
it got
yeah.
revealed at like the Toy Fair or something that Mechagodzilla is in this movie. Mind you, they were like blurry photos, but
Of course they were. It was
yeah,
like pictures of Bigfoot.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like at the same time, it's like, yep, that's it.
Absolutely.
You got spoiled. I agree with you though. It sucks that it got spoiled like that. But unfortunately, too, in general, and as someone who actually like collects figures and stuff like that, that kind of happens way more often than you think.
Yes.
It happened with a bunch of Marvel stuff too. Like Lego
yeah.
sets
So I've heard.
revealed like key
Absolutely.
things that happen in some like Marvel movies. Like it's unfortunately just something that kind of happens for some reason. Like Funko especially they make the pop vinyls.
Yeah.
They revealed like Mechagodzilla like their Mechagodzilla design too for their pop vinyl really early before it was actually revealed. Like shirts came out and it's like unfortunately merch kind of plays against it sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there's an interesting stat to that, but that's not for this video.
Gotcha.
So I still don't understand the Kongs. I don't even understand the Godzillas.
It's like implied that there was some kind of war or something.
Yeah, there's some kind of big war between the two of them, which I hate. I don't like that at all. I like the idea of there being kind of like an ancient rivalry, sure. I don't like the idea that there's like...
It's hard for me to grasp around like more than like 2 Godzillas at a time because there's been like Godzilla Jr.
They're so big, yeah.
I can't grasp my head around there being like hundreds of Godzillas like running around.
Yeah, hundreds of Godzillas running around or hundreds of Kongs running around, and I don't. The entire part where he sits on his throne and everything like that, I was cringing. That made me cringe.
It was. I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest with you, because I visually I'm all for kind of stuff like that.
Explain that these were ancient humans that built it for him.
That's what I'm saying. Is in this movie, it's not. It's weird. Like I'm all for like cool visual stuff like that, like a big like gorilla monster sitting on like its own throne, being impeded. But it just I feel like it wasn't earned.
But like I've heard people say that like and King Kong escapes. Kong makes stuff in that, and I was like, he dug a tunnel.
But also, that's also
he dug a tunnel and placed some rocks to make a stairway.
I don't mean to make an excuse either. I also feel like that's just a completely different movie too.
No, you know what? I'll disagree with you.
Okay.
I think King Kong Escapes and Godzilla vs. Kong are very similar films. I think they are both ridiculously dumb movies.
Okay.
With a lot of fun monster shit. I think King Kong Escapes is better, but
it's got King Kong, so
yes, that's partially why. The main reason why I think King Kong is better is because it has one of the most amazingly over-the-top villains ever in it. But yeah, and also I gotta admit that I think the plot was kind of intriguing, as ridiculous as it was. It was so ridiculous that, but they treated it so serious.
Yeah.
That's where the enjoyment comes out of it. Well, not so much in this movie. Because there's a couple of things in this movie that tonally that I have an issue with, where it's like you're not sure if it's trying to take itself seriously.
This kind of goes back to I mentioned this before and this is partially also because it's Adam Wingard's style. Is like all the licensed music. I just like.
Oh, you don't like it? I didn't mind it.
I don't know. Something about it is just like it makes more sense here because Kong is in this and they've established with Kong previously that there's like licensed music. I don't know. It's just like to me for this movie what they were trying to set up. It's just like. Especially it opens like with the movie of this that one I forget what song it was at the beginning of the movie when Kong is like waking up and like enjoying his day like it's like
yep.
I just like I felt like that was such a weird way to open the movie. I feel like the movie opens kind of weird. I feel the movie ends kind of weird, but there's like partial reason to the ending being kind of weird.
Yes,
because like I read that it was like the final scene of that movie where it's like them on Hollow Earth. That was supposed to be like an after credits stinger or something.
I didn't know that until today.
Yeah.
Personally, I love that scene because I like my Kong.
No,
I love the fact that this is one of the only movies where Kong gets a happy ending.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I don't dislike it. I just think the placing of it there was weird.
Okay.
I think the place. Okay. I think it would have that movie of Godzilla just going off into the ocean, Their standoff is done.
You know what? That is actually a visual element that I love that carried over from G 2014. I love how at the ending of G 2014, the last frame is them disappearing under the waters and everything's calm.
Yeah.
And then this movie kind of does a similar thing. I love that motif. I also love the idea that, yes, this is all a part of the natural order.
Yeah.
And thus everything's calm again.
Yeah.
Now that Godzilla's back, even though he's just killed literally hundreds of thousands of people, but whatever. Well, which is something else in 2014 I like, is they do not shy away from the human cost on that. You see people get killed left and right in that movie.
Yeah.
The same in Godzilla vs. Kong, it's there.
Yeah.
The killing, but it's implied deaths.
Yeah.
It's a lot of implied
You see,
deaths.
I mean, like in King of the Monsters, you see like...
I think it is... Yeah.
King of the Monsters, you see like a door like step on...
step on people left and right. Yeah. I think Godzilla vs. Kong is definitely the worst of the implied death. I'll have to admit, it's better than some of the Showa era Godzilla movies where they'll destroy cities and you see absolutely no one.
Yeah, it's just like,
all, which is in such a sharp contrast to the first one and stuff like that. I don't know. It's. I think we've said just about everything we can with the monster characters. There's not much else to say. I just love it. Kong, it's typical of a Kong movie for Kong to have a tragic ending.
Yeah, but no, it's
I love the fact that this is one of the few Kong movies where he has a happy.
I'm glad you meant. I didn't think of that. I'd actually really take that into perspective.
I really like that. I think that scene would have worked better as an after credit sequence. You're right. I just would have kept it there.
Yeah.
But whatever. You know, I was very happy. I like my Kong. God damn it. So the next thing that we're gonna talk about, I believe, since we've talked about the human characters already, and we've talked about
I feel like what else are we missing anything?
Well, I was gonna mention some of the technical aspects of the film.
Okay.
Like cinematography and stuff like that.
Did you want to mention?
However, I wanted to mention music because it was in the. I remember
that too.
This is by far my least favorite score out of all of them.
Unfortunately, yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't really remember.
Yeah, I don't really remember
Godzilla's theme in this movie
because it sounds like Ifukube.
Yeah,
his theme literally is Ifukube's score.
You're right.
Like 2 notes change.
Yeah, but those 2 notes like change it to have a little more of a grim aspect to it.
Yeah, sure.
But you're right. I can't help it. I like that theme. I like that.
I will say this. The synthwave stuff was cool. I mean, I've never heard that in a Godzilla movie before.
No,
so
definitely.
That was at least new.
That was a new thing.
And that's very Adam Wingard.
Yeah.
That was definitely a decision made by him.
Totally.
And I like Junkie XL. I think he's a good composer. I love his scores.
No, yeah, I do too.
I love his scores for the Batman v. His score for Batman v Superman's great. I love his score.
Did he compose by any chance like the theme for Wonder Woman in that movie?
He might have.
Because I legitimately like, even like I'm not big on the DC movies, I like the like theme song they made for Wonder Woman in that movie. I like.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was associated. I know he was associated with Justice League, Man of Steel, and Batman v.
Well, I mentioned because that was the movie where Wonder
Woman.
Then
it would have been him.
Yeah.
But all those are great scores.
Was it also Fury Road? Am I wrong?
He worked on that. Yeah.
Okay. Because Fury Road is.
Yeah, Fury Road has a great score as well. Yeah. And I guess he did a little bit of Blade Runner 2049.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, I think he did some of that. I know Hans Zimmer did a lot of it too. Yeah. I know him and Hans Zimmer are buddy, I guess. But, and you can hear it.
He's certainly super talented. His scores are good. I wish I remembered more of this.
Me too. There's no theme in this movie.
Yeah.
None of these monsters have. Well, I'm sorry, Godzilla has a theme.
Yeah, he has a slight one.
I still think it sounds so much like Ifukube, but yeah, this is by far my least favorite of the scores. The only track that I truly remember is the one where Kong does sign language, where he does sign language. I genuinely love the score in that scene. I genuinely like that scene. I did just like that scene. I love that scene. That scene gives me chills. It gives me the chills.
Yeah,
and I really like that. But it is my least favorite. It does its job. I'm not saying it's a bad score.
No, yeah, I don't think it
does.
I don't think you are. I'm not saying that either. I think it does what it needs to do for this movie. I just really wish maybe I need to just sit down and like listen to it.
Yeah.
Really sit down and listen to it.
Maybe I need to do the same. I have listened to a couple tracks.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Let's see. Cinematography wise, I think this is also my least favorite
There's
shot.
there's a lot of weird shot decisions.
Yeah, it's just it's nothing in this movie is screams cool.
Do you know what was one that was weird to me? Maybe this is a Wingard standard. I could be wrong. There's a lot of like weird first person shots.
Well, that's a carryover from Kong Skull Island. There's a couple of really cool ones where suddenly it'll jump first person down and you'll be looking down a barrel of a gun.
Like during the kaiju fights too. And I just like I thought that there was one shot, it was during the Hong Kong fight that I really was like, man, if they made a universal ride, this would be on the ride.
I was thinking the same thing.
When they're in the heave and they're flying through the fight.
Yes.
I can't even say if I necessarily liked
I love how they go right past Kong, they go right beside Godzilla. And
I can't even necessarily say I liked that, but I totally can buy that as like, oh, I'm on a Godzilla versus Kong ride, and this is like one of the big moments. We have to go through the action. Oh, there's Kong. Oh, there's Godzilla.
That would have made a great ride. The entire going through Hollow Earth and then having that fight happen, I'm like, this is a great Universal Studios ride. In fact, that's probably why they made it. But the issue with me is that Junkie didn't do any of his crazy electronic stuff he's so well known for, like with Fury Road or the DC scores. Would have sounded sick with the fighting. I agree.
That's a really good point. I agree with them too.
I absolutely agree with that, Andrew. Cinematography wise, though, I really love the aesthetic of the neon. I'm a sucker for neon.
Yeah, me too.
And the fact that we have never seen a Godzilla movie shot like that before.
Yeah, it looks cool. And also, neon just looks cool.
It does look cool. It can get old very quickly.
It can.
Like, I'm glad that it was only neon in this movie and not in any of the other Monsterverse movies. But yeah, and I'll admit, I'm happy that there's at least a directorial stamp on this movie, unlike Godzilla King of the Monsters. If I watch a couple of the other Adam Wingard movies as I have, I'm like, okay, he's got a style. Yeah. With Michael Daughtry, I'm like, what is your style? Your style is whatever it needs to be.
Okay.
And I didn't.
I do. Someone's having a blast outside. Someone's having fun. A vehicle race by. I don't know if that picks up on the mic or not.
It probably did. I have no idea.
No, I do also tend to like when I gotta watch movies in general. I like to visualize a single frame. I like to like imagine. Okay, I had this frame placed in front of me. Is this like saying anything to me? I guess I'm getting really artsy with this, but I don't really know if there were that many of this in this movie for me. Because I mentioned before in King of the Monsters, like the shot of like Godzilla and Ghidorah squaring up, that big wide shot.
Yes.
I like that shot a lot. And
that was an homage to Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. The framing of that was exactly the same.
Damn it, I'm just a nostalgia baby this whole time.
You are the worst human being to ever live. You are worse.
Bro, Adam.
You are worse than the mother from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
I don't need you to tell me that when I wake up look in the mirror. I'm like, shit, we're doing this again. Oh my god, dude.
Oh god.
What are you laughing at over there? Stop laughing at me.
Jim, do your job and cut to the wide. God damn it.
I'm glad you enjoyed that, Jim. The fact that it made you happy made me happy. No, yeah, it's like cinematography wise, I really think where this movie shines is just like the neon stuff.
Yes,
I think that's
the coloring
the coloring is not. Oh yeah, actually, even like during like the final fight during the day with Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, and Kong, I don't know. It's just like something about like all the subtle colors during that scene where it's like the jet thrusters are going off, the glowing red in Mechagodzilla. I think it's
pretty damn cool.
Oh, I also like too the I guess all I can call it is a murder cage where they were testing Mechagodzilla and they released the skull crawler.
I like that.
I mean, idea-wise, how the fuck do they build a giant cavern underground? But at the same time, it's kind of cool that they built a giant cavern underground.
If Monarch could do it, Apex could do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Ba-bum.
Like the mentality of this entire movie. Fuck it.
Yeah, but yeah, cinematography, I feel like I liked
sound. What about sound design? Because sound design is big in these movies. Let me tell you, because I'd be watching these at weird hours of the day, and I actually want to thank I don't know if he's still in the chat or she, but she and or he said, I hope your eye surgery went well. It did, but usually my eyesight improves at night, so I would watch these movies in the middle of the night. and I would put my headphones on to listen to them, and I really got to feel the sound design.
Yeah.
Because of that great sound design.
Okay, so that's actually something I did want to mention, is that, like, I had a great time watching it here. The one regret is that I didn't see it in theaters, because I feel like I would have appreciated that a little more.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, I would have appreciated it just a little more if I got to hear it on, like, a full, like, thing.
Yeah, I think, this is definitely a theater movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
However, a part of me hates that it's a theater movie.
Yeah.
Because to me, if it's just a theater movie, then its shelf life is ridiculously short.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And that's what Godzilla vs. Kong is. It is a movie with an unbelievably short shelf life. It was what we needed in the moment. Next.
Yeah.
And I am unbelievably happy that this movie was extremely successful. This movie made over $350 million during the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's...
Plus all the shit that... This movie was a success.
And also, I don't know...
Fuck it, Jim. Go to the wide. I see what you were doing there.
Also, I don't know how big of a factor, because this will play... It also, technically, it hasn't released in Japan yet. Because they had to lock back down because of COVID rising cases. I didn't know that. So it hasn't officially released in Japan yet either.
Well,
so there's still that.
About that.
I'm curious about that too.
FYI, Japan loves these movies.
Yeah.
The Japan, even the people who are Godzilla aficionados over there, like these movies a lot. And in fact, they don't understand. A lot of them don't understand when Westerners over here are like, only the Japanese know how to make Godzilla, and they're like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? It's a good movie. and I found that very funny. There was a fan documentary made by a guy who used to do a Kaiju podcast. I forgot his name, but he did one of the audio commentaries on the Arrow Gamera Heisei Gamera trilogy. Anyways, his documentary sort of flew in his face a little bit. I watched it at G-Fest. It premiered at the G-Fest that I went to. And his whole spiel was, he was like, but what is it culturally that the Japanese make Godzilla better than the Americans? And he was shocked because a lot of the people who were just like Joe Schmoes on the streets and a lot of like other fellow podcasters and filmmakers that just were Japanese were like, no, we don't. They were just like, no, we love the American Godzillas. We love the fact that they're making Godzilla movies. They're great movies. They're fun.
Yeah, and it's nice.
And I'm like, yeah, what...
I think that's really flattering that, like,
the country of origin
likes that what we're doing with their character. I think that's really a great...
Yeah, I really do. And I completely disagree with people like Steve Rifle and Kaiju Tsuki, who are like the two big Godzilla historians, really. They wrote the book on Ishiro Honda, which is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it yet. But they say that Americans will never truly be able to make a Godzilla movie because we just don't have the subtext behind it and the cultural value of it. I strongly disagree with that. I've said many times, it all depends on the people pulling the triggers on the movie. It depends on the people who are making the movie. If you have somebody who has something to say, has to prove himself, this is why I think G2014 works. And I know they didn't like G2014 because they're snobs, but G2014 I think works because I think Gareth Edwards was trying to prove that he can make a big movie. Also, he had a lot riding on his shoulders.
I was actually going to mention because
he was like, we have to make a good Godzilla. This movie has to be at least good because of the abomination that is Godzilla 98. And he in my opinion, regardless if you think it's a good movie or not, it's a Godzilla movie.
It is. Like you cannot. To me, you can't argue that either. I was going to mention that to you is like, it's Godzilla 1998. You know, obviously there's everything. Everyone said everything about that movie at this point. To you, if that movie wasn't named Godzilla, do you think it would be as hated?
98?
Yeah.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
I would have looked at it as a fun giant monster movie, but the fact that they made it Godzilla and decided to take the god out of Godzilla,
it's
and on top of that, the filmmakers who were working on that, the writer and the director, hated Godzilla. They said their entire mentality with making that was the wrong mentality, and it was, we can do this better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you cannot do this better. You can only further the story, and that's why the remake to King Kong 05, the Peter Jackson one, is so good. Is because Peter Jackson and the entire crew knew from the get-go, they weren't going to top King Kong 33. They didn't want to top King Kong 33. Their mission for King Kong '05 was to make it live on for a new generation, which they succeeded.
Yeah, totally.
They succeeded in droves. And that's the mentality you should have if you're revamping a character like this.
It's also funny you mentioned the fact that, like, that was probably needed to know that this movie had to be good.
This movie had to.
Because oddly enough, when I was really young, when this movie was coming out in high school, and obviously I wasn't super movie savvy yet. I wasn't like as I am now. Even I had that moment, that feeling in my gut. I'm like, this is going to be a good movie.
Yes.
This is going to be. It has to be a good movie. And from what we've seen so far, I think this is going to be a good movie. Mind you, this is a high school level of thinking. But like,
those trailers had me hyped as fuck.
Me too, Adam.
Dude,
me too.
I remember I hadn't seen that first trailer with the airdrop yet, and so my friend Johnny came running up to me and was like, "Dude, did you see the new Godzilla trailer?" I was like, "No, did you see it?" He was like, "Yeah." I didn't even think it was a Godzilla movie until you saw the lightning flash. You see the spikes for a split moment, and I was like, "I am on board.
Yeah.
I am on board, baby."
It's one thing I've always been like very. It's just like, yeah, this movie was a good movie. Like, it really is a good movie.
I don't just think Godzilla 2014 is a great movie. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I think it's an extremely solid, well-made movie.
Yep.
All the flaws we've said before still valid in that film and everything
course.
like that, but it's still a solid, good movie. Yeah. But anyways, with Godzilla vs. Kong, I can't say it's a good movie. I have to say it is a bad movie of the highest caliber. That is exactly what I would call this movie.
Yeah, and we've kind of said our piece.
Yeah, we've sort of said our... That kind of goes into closing thoughts, I guess.
It's... I really... Again, I mentioned before with the Monsterverse, as of right now, I'm personally considering the Monsterverse is done. I'm considering it's done, even though there's now in the rumored works about, like, the apparent announcement of Son of Kong, and people really like bandwagoning the continue the Monsterverse thing,
which is cool, by the way. That is kind of cool.
It is a good feeling, but at the same time, I feel like it leans too much into the same people who are like, oh, it's only monsters fighting, and like,
yes,
I think that's, but at the same time,
well, if you're gonna do that, go all out.
Yeah,
like as I said, if you're gonna, the next Monsterverse movie should have no human characters in it at all, and be like a Walking with Dinosaurs style documentary where you have a narrator being like, Kong is now doing this. And
I don't know about the narrator part, but
I think and I'm just like, that would be funny.
You know what I would like to see?
What?
Because again, to me, I think
a giant monster movie with no monsters in it. FM 132.9.
Oh my god!
Now fucking streaming.
Watch
it is on demand. The link is in the description below. Support independent giant monster movies. Fuck, you walked right into that. You walked right into that. Oh, that was the best segue I've ever had.
Adam,
what?
You got me. I can't contest that. No, but what I'm saying was, let the Monsterverse rest for a little bit. You know what I'd like to maybe see them try?
What?
And the same doing like
Reptilicus?
Well, no.
The giant claw.
I know, I'm being for real here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's being for real here. Release maybe a short film. Not a full-length thing. Just a short film that's focused on maybe one specific, like, maybe
monster.
Focused on Kong, maybe focused on one specific monster.
I dig it.
I also would even like to see, if we continue the Monsterverse, I'd like to see them try an original monster. I would like to see it.
That's focused on original monster. I want Behemoth.
Yeah, like a Behemoth, or even just its new thing. The one thing I don't want...
Oh, I love the in 2014, the two Mutos.
I love them. I love them. I know people complain
I love them.
I know people complain the Muto designs are like too similar to the generic American movie monsters.
No,
I don't care. I love the Mutos.
Personally, I love the fact that they did that, because you had new versus classic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is great.
I've never understood why people were that hard on it, because I feel like even like when I was young, I kind of got that concept what they were going with here a little bit.
Absolutely. I understood it. I liked it, and
But the one thing with Monsterverse, if there's anything I really don't want, and it's not just because I didn't like the sequel, I don't really want them to cross this over. Everyone's like, oh, put Pacific Rim, cross over Pacific. I'm like, don't. That's like, no. It's. I don't want to see that. But I don't know. To me, it's just like that. Just feels weird.
Yes.
It feels weird. It feels like
keep them separate.
Pacific Rim is very specific in what it was trying.
Did you watch The Black yet?
I have not watched The Black yet.
Watch it.
I heard you ended up kind of really enjoying it.
I really enjoyed it.
I have to watch it still.
Yeah.
I have not had the time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for Singular Point. I know when Singular
Oh
Point.
no, that'll like
that would be another case where we have this setup.
Yeah.
Where we'd probably
unless for some reason it like no, I think we would still do it. If it like for some reason it like nosedives and isn't that great or something.
Oh,
but
we'd still do it.
I think also even in general, I don't even think this is kind of a thing. So I think Singular Point is going to be pretty good. I haven't looked at anything. The show has been airing. I have not. Looked
I
at
saw
anything.
one clip of these people on a submarine trying to identify Titanosaurus, and I was on board.
All right.
I was loving what I was seeing, and they released one clip with Rodan.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like Rodan is landing on a building and he accidentally knocks it over and he's like, "Oh Jesus!" and stuff like that. And they made him very animalistic.
Yeah,
and very natural, and I loved it.
I like this new portrayal for Rodan, and it's like almost like a swarm too at some point.
It's Gauss.
Yeah, it is Gauss. Gauss.
It's Gamera Gauss.
But I think it's a cool. Yeah. I think it's a cool spin to put on Rodan of a monster to make it. It's
we've never seen anything like this before in a Godzilla in anything Godzilla. It's cool that they're doing it in animation as well, because now they can really let their imagination fly. And
I get it, because they fly.
Swish. That was revenge for me doing.
Man, Jim, I don't know if you like that one or not, but
man.
You win some, you lose some. See, you win. I lost one there. I just won that one.
God, I think I just got cancer.
Adam.
No, but no, I'm really excited. I'm loving how creative the Reiwa era has been, and I'll be honest, I think it wouldn't surprise me if Legendary Pictures loses the rights for Godzilla, because Toho is yearning.
That was my other point. Is I truthfully want them to.
So Towers of Giza is also saying Singular Point has been amazing. That's
good to hear.
So I'm really happy. I can't wait to check it out.
I don't even mean this in a bad way. I kind of want them to lose because I'm so thirsty to see Toho do their shit. Yeah, do their shit. Like I'm thirsty to see that.
I'm just worried that they'll make it like the Millennium Era. Because the Millennium Era, look, they have great singular movies, but it was just a mess.
I understand where you're coming from.
But Hideaki Anno's done with Godzilla. He won't come back, so it'll be a bunch of new people.
I want to just comment, because I think I have talked about this on a stream. Martin mentioned that he's interested on other giant monster media that's not Godzilla related, like the follow-up to Cloverfield that's apparently currently in development. I love that movie with all my heart. I've mentioned it before on multiple streams. I want to be positive. I am not Adam. I am Lucas.
No one sees that. No one sees that. That's in the fucking preview window.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that's how it works. I've ruined everything.
Everything. You've literally. You know what? Fuck you. I've literally ruined everything.
No, okay, but Chip, it's not even Lucas now.
I am Lucas now.
That's unfortunate. Okay, all right, for realsies now.
How when it's on, look at my take you off.
Whatever now. You guys know who I am. For realsies, I just after Paradox, I don't. I'm good, Chief. They completely. I really liked it when they went with the idea of like Cloverfield just being an anthology and using the namesake as just a.
I really like that idea.
I liked that idea way more, and when Paradox is just like, oh, we're just gonna insert the Cloverfield monster into this movie, which already is not that good of a movie. It was not a great movie. It's like
you're like.
No, it's not, because it isn't. I remember I kept denying myself. I kept being like, no, it was pretty good. It was like, no.
You're just in denial.
No, it was not. So, if they can pull it off, obviously, even if it comes out, I'm still probably going to watch it just for sick kicks. But it's hard for me to imagine they can recapture Cloverfield. However, there is always the idea, because there was behind the scenes of that movie, I think... I forget if it was JJ or if it was Matt Reeves who said it. The idea of that when they're on the bridge and HUD is looking over and someone else has a camera.
Yeah.
Maybe that. But at the same time, how much of that movie would work to where it's not just the same thing again?
This is true. This is very true. It would be very interesting. You know what? There is an interesting documentary. Now we're completely off the rails, but whatever. Fuck it. There isn't a great documentary, and it's really hard to watch on 9/11.
Yeah.
Where there's no narration, it's just raw camera footage from the incident.
I have actually heard of this one.
And it's a great documentary. It's great. It's absolutely hard to watch, but it's great. If they did that with Cloverfield or with a giant monster movie, I am on board. I am completely on board. And you can't even say that what I'm saying is uncalled for, because that was definitely the imagery that they were going for with the original Cloverfield was they were calling back to 9/11. Especially with the dust shooting down streets and then
I didn't even think it would be that.
Cloverfield and the 2000, I think it was 2005, the Spielberg War of the Worlds.
Oh, was that 2005?
I don't know, whatever. But anyway, Spielberg's War of the Worlds was also calling back to a lot of the imagery and reactions of the immediate aftermath of 9/11. And I'm like, okay, and I bought that. So I think that
that comment.
Oh yeah, what?
No, the Heat Seekers comedy just said. It was actually kind of funny.
Succeed and begin to spiral into madness. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. But Anna, what are your closing remarks with?
Dumb fun movie. I think Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla versus Kong, Battle of Earth. Electric Boogaloo. I think Godzilla versus Kong is a bad movie made of the highest possible caliber. I've always said that. I've been saying that all night. I think it is the Godzilla versus Megalon of the Monsterverse. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with this. I'm happy with the Monsterverse being what it is. I wish it would stay that way. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. But if they're doing more Kong, I might have fun with it. Because it's clear that these guys at least know they're Kong.
Yeah.
So, and if it's Son of Kong, I'd be interested in that too. Because there's a lot of stuff in the original 1933 Son of Kong that could use some updating and great ideas.
Yeah. How was it explained again in Son of Kong that there was a titular son of Kong?
It's never even explained if it's really the son of Kong. It's just a juvenile.
Okay.
It's just a juvenile. At least that's what I remember. It's been for quite a while since I've seen it. That movie's only an hour and 15 minutes, so you can sit through that in no time at all. I think Son of Kong is a good movie, by the way. Yeah. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I like that movie. So, all right. So, wow.
Monsterverse.
The Monsterverse, everyone.
The Monsterverse. What are you doing?
I don't know.
Hi, Jim.
Anymore.
What's up, bro?
I don't know anymore. Well, we've talked about Godzilla now for 2.5 hours.
Oh, man.
So, we've been talking about Godzilla even before the live stream started.
Oh, no.
So, all right. That's the Monsterverse. I hope you... We're going to wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a blast talking about this.
Oh, hell yeah. Dude, yeah, I had a great time. Are you kidding me?
Let us know what you think of this layout. I intend to bring this layout kind of back for special occasion stuff. Probably other Godzilla stuff, at least movie wise or show wise and stuff like that. After we watch it all and let it sit in, we'll
maybe even like future holiday stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Imagine making a nice Halloween setup.
Yeah, like a Halloween setup, sure. Kind of. Jim's liking that.
Because Jim does the Halloween party, so he's got the decorations.
Okay, I gotcha. But let us know. Again, I had a blast.
Oh, me too.
So Lucas, why don't you pimp yourself out for a little bit and let the world know?
Hi everyone, my name's Lucas. I'm 25. I know I'm over here.
I'm 25.
No, right. It throws me off so bad that the TV's right there. The camera's there.
The camera's there. Well, sorry.
God, it's almost like I went to school in front of cameras. I should know this. Oh, anyway. So hi, I'm Lucas. So I have a Let's Play channel called Gameplay Buddies with my friend Steve, aka Shay64. Check his stuff out too. Edited by.
Look at yourself.
I'm sorry, you scared me. You startled me. You shoved it in my face. It freaked me out.
I'm so startled.
It's okay.
I'm so startled.
But anyway, we have Let's Play channel.
Monsterverse.
This is going.
Shut the fuck up, Lucas. Talk.
Okay, so Gameplay Buddies, it's my Let's Play channel with my friend Steve, Shay64. Check his channel out too. Edited by our friend Bottles, who was actually in the stream before, from Game Controller Network. Check him out too as well. That's like my main channel right now. We actually uploaded recently a really long, our first episode of a new show we're trying out called it's either Scribble Buddies or Doodle Buddies, where it's like a drawing show. So we pick a game and we're drawing characters from it. You know, it's like we were having fun with it, and it's like it's definitely really fun. It's just takes a while to film, and like this wasn't even the first episode. We actually had another one that unfortunately something got messed up with the audio and they couldn't use it.
Yeah.
But no, we're looking forward to making more of those. And I do have, and I say this every stream. I have Pal Pop, which is my YouTube channel. It is currently basically defunct. I'm working on how I want to bring that back. I'm kind of starting to visualize things more, what I want to do with it. It'll definitely be very different from what it is right now, so don't take it at face value of what it is right now, and I definitely want to make something to transition that from one period of this channel to the next period. But that's still a little ways, so sorry to keep everyone waiting on that, but I do want to get back to making kind of stuff, more like impactful videos, more like interesting videos. That's not just like, oh, hey, I got this, I'm gonna look at this. It's like, I got jarring and boring after a while. And that's me.
And now there's me.
Hi, Adam.
Well, you all probably know who I am.
Hi, Adam.
Anyway, you asked if there are any sort of check on Adam's Godzilla books. Yes, they're almost done. And I've been saying that forever. No, I'm very serious. They are very close to being done. It is my mission to get at least Godzilla vs. Kong completely fucking finished this year, since, you know, now I'm doing the last edits on it, saying thanks to somebody actually reading the fucking thing and giving me genuine critiques on it. Now I'm going to go back and take those critiques to heart, because a lot of them are valid. And it kind of sucks that it's taken me this long to do it. If I knew it was going to take this long, I never would have started it in the first place.
I mean, I think you should. It sucks, but at the same time, that just shows that you're dedicated to it.
Yeah, they've gone through a lot of changes. It's really crazy looking back on the first drafts of these books, how radically different they are.
I'm actually really looking forward to. I guess this is partially for my pimp section too, because a lot of things are changing in my life, and I'm gonna have a lot more time to really zen out and start working on creative things.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a nice horizon on that with that too. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to sitting down and actually starting to write some things out.
Well, everybody, go on Facebook, like Alien Productions, for all up-to-date information of what we're doing. And I guess thank you all for tuning in. More videos are definitely going to be coming out very, very, very soon. And I guess in the end, this is... I'm Monster from Alien Productions, joined by Lucas Schloth, A&P partner, and
Gameplay Buddies, Pal Pop,
all that wonderful
doing a
jazz.
lot of stuff right now.
Yeah. And we'll see you later. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.